Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Luffy was grandson of Xebec and wield his Haki and sword? Before I start, please do support for more awesome content, and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the Ratastorm for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story. Link in the description. Luffy had started his adventure as a pirate. He knows the basic of Haki. He was riding a small boat, and then he stops on an island to get supplies. He then saw someone tied up in the middle of a field. He then saw that the field was gated off. He then jumps past the gates and came up to man. "Hey, what are you doing?" the man said. "Just taking a look around this island." "What are you doing and why are you tied up?" Luffy replied. The man looks down again. "Well, I'm tied up because some blonde marine loser made me a deal." The man said. "I hate to break it to you, but he is not keeping his end of the deal," Luffy replied back, making the man's eyes widen. "Damn that bastard. Wait a minute, just who are you?" the man said. "Me? I'm planning on forming a pirate crew, so what do you say? We can turn the seas upside down and oppose against the world government," Luffy said. The man smirked back at Luffy. "Alright then, I'll join you. Can you get me my swords? They are in that marine base," the man said. "Alright then, be right back. Also, by the way, what is your name?" Luffy asking the man. "My name is Roronoa Zoro, but call me Zoro if you like," Zoro replied back. "Alright then, Zoro, you will be my right-hand man. Now I'll be back," Luffy said while running towards the marine base and kicks down the doors, and some marines were scared. "Hey, just who are you?" the blonde marine asks. "Me? I'm just a rookie," Luffy replied. Marines loading their guns, and then Luffy was charging at the blonde marine and grabbed him the shirt. "Hey, let go of me right now, or you will be facing against Captain Axehand Morgan," the blonde marine said. Luffy didn't care about a marine captain. "It wouldn't scare me," Luffy replied while running off with the marine in his ask, and he is asking where he hid Zoro's swords at. "Alright fine, it's in that room that we just passed," the blonde marine said. Alright then, Luffy was later then stopped by some marines who was pointing their guns at him. "Drop Helmeppo," one of the marines said. "Nope, but you can try," Luffy said as he was holding up Helmeppo. Helmeppo was begging his fellow marines to not shoot at him. Luffy was running to Helmeppo's room to grab Zoro's swords. He then broke to glass to get Zoro. When some fellows marines were firing at Zoro's, Luffy jumped and blocking the bullets. Zoro's eye widened, and then Luffy bounces the bullets back from his body. "Hold on a minute, just what are you?" Zoro asked Luffy. "Well, I ate the Goma Goma no Mi fruit, so I'm made out of rubber," Luffy replied back to Zoro. Luffy then untied Zoro and gave him his swords, then both of them started fighting the marines. Suddenly Captain Axehand Morgan appears. "You idiots dare to ruin my base. You also ruined my sculpture," Marine Captain said. "The sculpture was ugly," Luffy replied. The captain then attacks Luffy, but then Luffy dodged his attack. Zoro was also fighting some marines. Luffy then used his armament Haki with his sword. Zoro was looking amused about Luffy was doing. "Hey Captain, what's that?" Zoro asked Luffy, who turned to Zoro, then smirked at him. This is just my sword and some armament Haki," Luffy replied. "Armament? What is that?" Zoro asked. "Armament is a Haki that can bypass Logia-type devil fruits and could injure a devil fruit user," Luffy explained to Zoro. Zoro was looking amused by it. "A Haki user in the East Blue, but how?" Captain Axehand Morgan said. "I was trained by red-haired Shanks," Luffy said, making the captain's eyes widen, and then Luffy attacks with his sword and the captain was laying down on the ground. "Now that was pretty cool," Zoro complimenting his captain, who was just grinning. "Now then, let's go get a drink and get out of here and try to recruit a second mate," Luffy replied back, and Zoro followed his captain to a bar where they ordered drinks, when suddenly a little girl was offering Luffy and Zoro some rice balls. Luffy gladly accepted, so did Zoro. Luffy patted the little on her head and then followed her to nearby bar where they were selling booze. "Oh yeah, little girl, what's your name?" Luffy asked the little girl. "My name is Rika." "Nice to meet you, Mr. Rika replied. "You can call me Luffy if you want," Luffy said. "Can my mom get you two anything?" Rika asked the two. "I'll just have a sake for now," Luffy replied. "I'll take some sake here," Zoro said. Rika left to get the sakes for the two. Later on, Rika came back with some sake for Luffy and Zoro. They both have a nice little conversation. "Also, I got a small boat for right now, but once we go a certain place, I'm sure we can get ourselves a bigger boat," Since it's only the beginning, Luffy said. Zoro was agreeing to his captain, and they both got ready to leave and set sail for the next island. Zoro wanted to ask Luffy a couple of questions about himself. You mentioned some guy named red-haired Shanks. Is he a pirate too? Zoro asked his captain. Yeah, he is one of the legendary pirates. Believe it or not, he was part of the Roger Pirates, Luffy replied. Zoro was smiling. Anyways, I was giving this log pose given by my father for me to set out to sea, Luffy said while looking at the log pose. They soon approached an island, where Luffy saw a familiar face, Shanks. Luffy then ran up to Shanks and gave him a fist bump. How are you doing, Anchor? Shanks asked Luffy. I'm doing good. I already recruited a first mate, Luffy said while pointed at Zoro. He then waved his hand at Shanks. My name is Shanks. I recognize you from somewhere? Shanks said while looking at Zoro. My name is Roronoa Zoro. I am a pirate hunter, but now I became a pirate alongside with Luffy, Zoro said, while Shanks were laughing. Although he was glad to see Luffy, and then Luffy requests Shanks something. Hey Shanks, do you mind if I sail with you? I want to get my second mate and find an island where I can get myself a ship? Luffy asked Shanks. Shanks just nodded and let Luffy aboard his ship with Shanks' crew. Luffy and Zoro were going to a certain island because wanted to see if he could summon for him to join his crew. Luffy, Zoro and Shanks' crew were arriving at some island. Luffy stepped foot on the island, Subodi Archipelago. Luffy and Zoro were walking around the island when they saw a marine ship. Come back here, demon child, Luffy heard someone scream. He ran over to see a black-haired girl were being chased by the marines. He used his conqueror's haki to knock out some marines except for the captain, who was sweating on his knees. The black-haired girl turns towards Luffy after she stopped running. You damn punks of the marines are just pieces of shit, Luffy said very angrily and took out his sword and started slashing the remainings of the marines, and leaving the captain still on his knees. Just who are you? The captain said while he was sweating. My name is Monkey D. Luffy, hopefully you remember that once you wake up sooner or later, Luffy said as he knocks him out with his fist and draw back his swords and then turns to see the girl. Are you alright? A/N. Luffy can't use his actual name because his father told him to use Monkey D instead of Rocks D. Yes, I am, the girl replied. Thanks for saving me. It's no problem. What's your name, by the way? Luffy asked. Nico Robin. I've been hunted down since I was 7. Robin said. Luffy hugged her, making her feel more comfortable again after he had to take out some marines. I will protect you. How about you join my crew, Luffy said. Robin was crying on his shoulder. Alright, let's go to one of my friend's ships. He will take us back to East Blue. Luffy said okay then, Robin replied, and then Luffy, Zoro and Robin went back on Shanks' ship, but as they returned Shanks felt the urge to make fun of Luffy again even though it's been 3 years since they last saw each other. Is that your girlfriend? Shanks asks him. Luffy felt embarrassed by his question. You've just started your journey and already got yourself a girl. Luffy was full of embarrassment. Nearly Shanks' crew was laughing at him. Robin was giggling a bit at his new captain. Shanks, you will pay for this, Luffy whispers to himself. Everyone on the ship was laughing until Luffy had a murderous grin on his face which made Shanks in fear. I heard a rumor that a certain red-hair emperor was flirting with his former vice-captain's wife. The whole crew spit their drinks instantly, and they all started laughing at Shanks. Wait, Shaki is Rayleigh's wife? Shanks said while he was panicking for his life and started to sweat. Rayleigh never told you? Luffy said, and he started bursting out laughing at Shanks. Onto the floor. Shanks, you are so dead, Luffy said while he was still laughing. Meanwhile, Shanks' crew was still laughing at him. Crew, we are getting the hell out of here, Shanks said while he was still panicking while the entire ship was still laughing at him. Meanwhile, Luffy was full of amusement. He then went to the back of ship and sat down, and though to see his family again, he was later approached by 2 of his new crew members and sat down. Captain, what are you thinking about? Robin asked his captain. Luffy then smirked and quietly laughed. I'm just thinking about my old man. I just want to see him again. Luffy then replied to his crew members. Who's your dad? Zoro asked his captain. His name is Dragon, the revolutionary leader, Luffy then replied. Zoro and Robin were shocked to hear about Luffy's father. But keep it a secret. The entire world doesn't know I'm the son of Dragon yet. But one day they will. Also forgot to ask this, but what are your goals? Luffy asked 2 of his crew members. To be the greatest swordsman in the world, Zoro replied first. To learn about the truth of the world. What about yours? Robin replied and asked his captain. Luffy then grinned at both of them. It's to become king of the pirates and annihilate the world government. Luffy said. Annihilate the world government? Shanks said while walking up to Luffy. He then grinned at Shanks. Yes, their sense of justice and corruption are just harming the innocents, Luffy said. Shanks, Zoro, and Robin were smiling at Luffy's response. You're right. Let's go ahead and bring to hell to the Marines and the world government, Robin and Zoro said in unison. Luffy then smiled at them, and soon enough the Red Force ship was making their way back to the East Blue to restart Luffy's journey. A/N. I don't own One Piece. It's just a fanfiction. Luffy, Zoro, Robin, and Shanks' crew arrived back to the East Blue where they stopped by an island suggested by Yasopp. Luffy was flicking a jelly bean up and catching it up until they arrived at the island. Syrup Village. So, you want me to recruit your son into my crew? Luffy asked Yasopp. That's right. Yasopp said my wife died but I wasn't able to come back because Marines would come here and destroyed it. Dad? A voice said suddenly. Is it really you? It was a boy who was Luffy's age. He has black hair and a long nose. The teen's dad waved at him. Hey son, Yasopp said. Glad you've been doing alright. The teen just runs towards Yasopp and hugs him. Luffy, Zoro, and Robin were smiling as they jumped down to explore the island. This village is nice, Robin said, smiling. Luffy was laughing. Zoro was drinking some booze that he got from the bar. As soon Luffy was done laughing, he started to feel evil presence. He kept quiet since Luffy was the only who had observation Haki at the moment. He wanted to train his crew for like a week until they find more crew members. Soon enough, someone approaches the ship. Just who are you people? Someone asked. Luffy's eyes were widened when he saw who he was. Kuro of Thousands Plans. Sorry young man, my new butler can be unfriendly to other people, said by a man. Luffy felt that his presences were good. Sir, that isn't a butler, that's a pirate who goes by the name Kuro. Yasopp said. Usopp was watching his old man on how he was handling things. What? The man said. Wait, aren't you Yasopp, Usopp's father? Yasopp nodded in yes, and then he turned to Kuro, while holding his gun. Now why is he here? Yasopp said. Luffy saw Kuro gulping in fear but then adjusted his glasses. Luffy felt a little bit bored watching on the sidelines. But he stayed on the ship and just watched for a bit until he was fully bored. You damn pirates, all he said. But he felt on his knees. Apparently Luffy had shot a jelly bean at Kuro's legs, making him scream in pain. Yasopp saw how Luffy was able to do that, was amused. Sorry about that. I felt bored listening to him talk and no action. He's not worth of a fight. Luffy said. Shanks just smirked it off. Robin grabbed some ropes and tied Kuro up. Thank you so much. The man said. I can't believe I let such dangerous pirates so close to Kaya. It's not a problem. We will probably stay for a couple of months. Luffy needs to train his crewmates, Yasopp said. Hey, Usopp, right? Luffy asked Usopp. Yeah, that's me. Usopp replies. Would you like to join my crew after you finish your training with your dad? And before you say you thought I am a part of your dad's, I'm actually starting my own crew, and I want you to be part of my crew, Luffy said. Usopp smiled at that, nodded. I will be glad to be, Usopp said as he shook hands with Luffy. 6 months later, Luffy was given a ship by Kaya. Luffy offered Kaya to join his crew, and she agreed to it. He also found 4 devil's fruits for these past 6 months of training. Luffy asked Usopp to set up a flag their ship. Luffy agreed that Kaya didn't have to become a fighter herself unless there is someone by her side, besides Usopp, but she still accepted the training. Kaya asked Luffy to eat one of the devil's fruits that Luffy had found, but Luffy told her to wait until he reached the Grand Line. Luffy and his crew set sail for the next island. They waved goodbye to red-haired pirates. The crew started to explore the ship. The Straw Hats are sailing the seas calmly when an unexpected change in their course led them to reunite with unexpected people. Now why did they meet up as friends in F? This ship is amazing, Luffy said while the others are agreeing with him. They set sail for another island. A day later, the Straw Hat pirates have arrived Konami Islands. They started to check out the island themselves. Luffy was walking around when he saw a girl stabbing herself in the arm. He then approached the girl and stopped her from stabbing herself. What happened to you? Luffy asked. Please help. I've been a slave for how long these past few years, the random girl, as she was gripping on Luffy's coat. Luffy then patted her head, making to stop crying. Just wait here. I'll get my crew here, Luffy told the random girl. He then tells his crew to meet him at Arlong Parks. His crew started getting into a fight with Arlong's crew. There were a bunch of unconscious fishmen that were beaten to death. Some of them had sword cuts. Luffy was fighting against Arlong. You say you hate the celestial dragons, but you behave like them, Luffy said, which made Arlong pissed. How dare you compare with those trash people, Arlong screeched, and he tried to attack Luffy with his sword. But Luffy broke it with his bare hands and then punched Arlong in the face, which sends him crashing him into the building. Arlong then attacks his but fails. Luffy coated his fist with armament Haki and punches him, which made him go flying. The girl cried tears of joy because she was free from being Arlong's slave. Luffy then walked up the girl. What's your name? Luffy asked the girl. She then whipped her tears away. Nami. Thank you, Nami replied to Luffy, and he was smiling at her, which made her to stop crying. Well, my name is Luffy. Don't think of it as a favor. I only did it because it was the right thing to do. No one especially like you don't deserve to like this. I'm looking for a navigator for my crew. I will not try to force them into joining me, Luffy said. I'm the best navigator in the East Blue. I will join you with no problems. Nami replied, and then Luffy was laughing. He finally got himself a navigator. He then later walked her to ship with his crewmates, and they introduced themselves. But they were soon stopped by a corrupted marine accepting money from Arlong. Chi Natsumi said, the corrupted captain of the marines. Now then, you pirates, you surrender peak. He didn't get to finish his sentence because Luffy had thrown a rock at Natsumi's stomach, causing him to kneel down in pain. You marine losers don't know your places, huh? Luffy said as he snapped his fingers, which gives Robin a sign. Clutch, Robin said without emotion. Nami heard the bones of the marine snapped. Moments later, the marine's body was unconscious on the floor. You are free now, Luffy said, causing all of the villagers to yell in excitement. Luffy then turned to Nami. How about we get rid of this trash? And we could do some training before we have to depart. Luffy said we could probably get you a devil fruit if you like, but that's up to you once we reach the Grand Line. Yes, I just want to be useful, you and your crew, Nami replied. I don't think I would need a devil fruit after we reach the Grand Line, but I'll make up my mind for it. Luffy then laughed, and then soon started training for a while before they depart. 6 months later, it was time for Luffy's crew to depart from Konami Islands. But before they departed, Luffy had asked Robin to go to Alabasta because Luffy plans on defeating Crocodile. Luffy told his crew about this, and they planned on meeting Robin once they reached for Alabasta. Luffy just remembered someone he had met 5 years ago. He couldn't wait to see her again. The crew was relaxing on the ship when they saw a news crew coming on the ship and dropping off a newspaper. Nami's read the newspaper to crew, when suddenly they saw a bounty fell out of the newspaper. Luffy picked it up, and he stars in his eyes. Monkey D. Luffy. Straw Hat Luffy. $80 million berries. There is a picture of Luffy wearing his straw hat, and he have murderous grin on his face on the bounty poster. Awesome, matey. $1 million, that's pretty high as a starter, Luffy said. Your bounty is higher than Robin's. Zoro said. I wonder when I'll get my bounty. Probably we get to Grand Line. Luffy replied, we are getting close to the Grand Line. Hey guys, should we stop by a restaurant? I heard there was a baratai here in the East Blue. Nami asked his crew, which they agreed. They soon made their way to the baratai where they could meet a good cooker for the crew. Barity East Blue. Luffy POV. Are you sure that we can get a good chef to join our crew? Luffy asked his navigator, Nami. I am sure, Captain. Nami responded. I'm sure we can find a cook that fights. And the food is amazing here, I've heard about. Alright then, let's go, Luffy said. Are we sure Marines won't come here and find us? Zoro asked. It's fine. I took down the flag before we arrived here, so they won't bother us while we are eating, Luffy answered. I am the only person who has a bounty for right now, but I'm going to be going undercover, so they won't be recognized here if they came here. As he said that, a marine battleship appears with a marine hugging a girl. You see what I mean? Until we get out of here, call me Lucifer so they don't know who I am. Alright, his crew said. Who are you people? The marine asked the crew. My name is Full Body and I'm a lieutenant of the Marines, so identify yourselves. We are just travelers, Luffy answered. We came here to eat. Losers, said the Marines. Let's go, dear. The Navy really doesn't know their places, Luffy said. His crew agreed with him. They soon entered the restaurant. They were surprised to see how good it looked. A chef that had brown skin with bulky arms appeared in front of Luffy. Hello, do you have money to pay? He asked with an evil smile. If we didn't have money, then why did we came here? You jackass, Luffy answered, looking angry at the guy. Good. Welcome to the bar, he just says, as he was ignoring Luffy's insulted response. Please choose a table. Did he just wanted to pick a fight? Zoro asked in a very annoyed tone. Seems like it, Kaya said while cracking her hands. I just wanted to beat him up in style, Nami said, making the man who annoyed them sweated and gulped in fear, making the other guests laughing. Advice Usopp, women are scary when they are angry, Luffy said. Agreed, Captain, thanks for telling me that, Usopp replied. Someone take our order? Zoro said, while he was leaning against the chair. They were waiting for their order to be taken. A blonde man appeared, and he started flirting with Nami and Kaya and ignoring Luffy and the two other guys. Yo, pervy cook, Luffy said, I thought you were going to serve us, not flirt. Yeah, we have been here for like 10 minutes. Zoro said. We would like our food, please, Nami said. Alright then, apologizes about that, didn't mean to waste your time. Now, are you ready to order, the blonde man said. After telling him what they wanted, the blonde man named Sanji left for the kitchen. Half-hour later, he brought them their foods. He might be a pervert, but he knows how to cook, Luffy said as he was preparing to eat. He saw the idiot lieutenant insulted Sanji. The Marine soon later put a bug in his soup. He then pissed off Sanji by throwing the table around, hitting his date and wasting the food. Sanji then got into a fight with them, and then the head chef had hit Sanji, and then kicked out the Marine. Sanji then saw a starving man entered but got kicked out because he didn't have money. Sanji then gave the man food anyway, which surprised Luffy, and then he went to Sanji. Hey Sanji, would you like to join my crew? Luffy asked the cook. You are a pirate? Sanji asked, surprised. Sorry, but I can't. I own the head chef too much. But don't you have a dream? Sanji said. It's to find the All Blue. Just what are planning on doing? The man asked. My name is Jin from the Krieg Pirates. I am going to the Grand Line and look for the One Piece, Luffy answers, and then become king of the pirates. Are you sure you can do it? Jin said. Me and my crew barely survived that place. Luffy was bursting out laughing. The dude obviously had a bad captain if he is giving up that badly. Oh please, your captain must be that weak. I've went to Grand Line many times before, but I decided to start my journey here in the East Blue, plus my friend Shanks has taken me there before, Luffy said, which surprised Luffy and Jin. You're friends with a Yonko? Sanji asks Luffy. Who are you? That's a secret for right now. Luffy replied. We are planning on staying here for a while. You can think about joining me or not. Luffy then turned around and then walked back inside to meet back with crew. He heard as Jin said goodbye and thanked Sanji. He then took a seat and then looked at his crew. Looks like we are picking a fight soon, considering you have a bigger bounty than the people of the East Blue. You don't need to worry, Zoro said, but I'm ready for anything. Well then, I need to work on my punches more often once I get a devil fruit, Nami said. Same here, I can't wait for the Grand Line, Kaya said. 3 days later, they were finishing breakfast, and then saw as Jin entering with a big bulky man. Here he is, Luffy said. He looks like bottom-feeding pirate, Nami said. Sanji then gave Jin some food, and then Krieg started to rush towards Sanji. And then Luffy accidentally looked into the future, and seeing threatened everyone. Shut up, said Luffy as he took off his scarf, making everyone in the Baratai scream, but Krieg didn't care and charged at him. Just who are you, brat? Krieg asked. I am Don Krieg. Captain Krieg, he is Monkey D. Luffy, bounty of 80 million berries, Jin said. That weak brat? Krieg asked as he aims his gun at Luffy. But in one single movement Luffy dodges and draws his sword and cuts Krieg's hand and draw back his sword. Blood starting dripping. Luffy watches. Krieg screams in pain because his hand got cut. Who are you calling weak, idiot? Luffy said. Grand Line, drop off or swim with the Sea Kings? He then turns towards the head chef and quickly apologizes for the trouble he causes. Luffy decided to pay him, but he hears Krieg roaring at him. I will kill you! Krieg roars, but he wanted knocked out from Nami's punch, already pissed off and probably annoyed from hearing that idiot screaming, and then Nami tossed him out of the bar. Sorry about that, but no one threatens the captain or interrupt my breakfast, Nami said. That girl is wild. The guest said that kid's crew is truly awesome. Anyways, I'll pay for any damages to your restaurant. But again, I'm very sorry about this, Luffy said. Don't worry about it, kid. I'm just glad you were able to protect my Bartai from that trash, the chef said. Luffy and his crew were about to head back to ship, and they saw Krieg holding on this hand, but suddenly Krieg's ship was slashed into two. They saw it was the greatest swordsman, Mihawk. Hey Zoro, what do you say? You want to spar with him? Luffy asked his right hand. I'm not sure, Captain Zoro said. Maybe one day it will be my time. Young man, what's your name? Mihawk asked suddenly. He was pointing at Zoro, and then Zoro drawled his swords. My name is Roronoa Zoro, Zoro answered. I see a lot of potential in you, Mihawk replied. Who have you been working with? That would be me, Luffy answered. It's been a while, has it? Hawkeye. Well, you look great, Mihawk said. Lucifer, sure has been. Luffy was just laughing at the nickname that he gave Mihawk. So, you have been training your swordsman? That's right. His dream is to defeat you, Luffy said. I may not feel ready because I don't think I can win against my captain even if he trained me the basic of Haki. But I'll try my best, Zoro said. I'll spar with you. A friendly spar since I have so much respect for Luffy, Mihawk said. Please don't go overboard, Luffy said, because he knew that this spar was going to be anything but friendly. I accept, Zoro said as he takes out his swords. Yo, you guys better be watching because this will test everything you have learned. His crew nodded and watched very closely about the spar between Zoro and Mihawk. Luffy saw Mihawk take out his knife. This will be a pain, and was glad that Zoro was taught to not get angry over small little things. To his surprise, Zoro was doing better than he thought, and it reached the point where Mihawk took out his sword and sparred Zoro for a while, until Mihawk destroyed 2 of Zoro's swords in the last attack, and then for unknown reason, after putting his last sword away, let himself cut in the chest. Zoro, why did you do that for? Luffy said. Usopp, make sure Zoro doesn't down. Of course, Captain Usopp said as he jumped into the sea and looked for Zoro. Zoro, are you okay? Luffy asked, a bit worried, but not then realized that he doesn't have enough strength of a swordsman. Luffy may have a good swordsmanship, but it wasn't enough for him to defeat Mihawk in a duel. Roronoa has a good potential for a swordsman, Mihawk said. Keep training him, and he will be ready to defeat me one day. Luffy, the voice of Zoro said. Can you hear me? Yes, are you okay? Luffy said, looking at his nakama. I will never lose again, Zoro said. I will keep training until I defeat him. You hear me? Yeah, this boy has a lot of potential, Mihawk said. Also take care of Trash, will you? As he was looking at Krieg, he then nodded, and then Luffy took a look at Krieg's ship. It still had survivors left on the ships. You will pay for this. Krieg screeched as he tried to hit Luffy with a spear, but Luffy kicked him in the stomach with armament, and then destroying his armor, and then Luffy sends Krieg flying to the air. Typical. I was not satisfied with that, Luffy then said to himself. What the hell happened? Jin asked. Krieg got his hand cut. Mihawk appeared and slashed his ship. Zoro sparred with him, and then Mihawk left, and then I pretty much send Krieg flying to the sky, Luffy replied to Jin. I got to admit you have a nice crew. You mind if I join? Jin asked Luffy. Thanks, I have a better offer. How about become a member of my fleet because I feel like I need to start a fleet. Luffy then offers Jin to become a member of Straw Hat Fleet. Alright then, I will serve you well, Captain, Jin asked. 1 hour later. Hey Luffy, I thought about it, Sanji said. I accept. Luffy smiled at that. Well then, let's go, Luffy said. We have to stop my Log Town for supplies, and it's going to be troublesome because there's some Marines sitting at Log Town, but who cares? His crew agreed, and then paying for the food and damages against the small fight with Krieg, they departed. A few hours later, somewhere in the East Blue. Hey Luffy, I am sensing trouble, and they are ship ahead. Sani said they have set up their Jolly Roger after they departed from the Baratai. When Luffy saw the ship, he frowns. It was one of the world government ships. It was a punk hazard ship. Damn it, it's one of the world's government ships. Just ignore them, Luffy said, but I think we are about to get into a fight, because those morons don't care who they mess with. As they were approaching the ship, they soon stopped close to the ship. Luffy just frowned. Hey there, give us those 2 ladies right there, one of the scientists said, while smiling. Hell no, get lost, Luffy said while looking angry. We are allowed to do whatever we want by the world government, said one of the scientists. Now you will give us these ladies or else. Luffy already was furious and jumped onto the ship and started beating up and slashing the scientist and a couple of Marines, and the crew jumped ship and started attacking. These damn punks of the world government, Luffy said. They really don't know their place. His crew nodded. Zoro had recovered by Kaya, and he started to be slashing all of the scientists and Marines with his remaining sword. Usopp was using his sniper. Sanji was kicking some Marines. The 2 females were punching some Marines, and they soon broke into the ship and scattered around the ship to defeat some scientists and Marines. Luffy made it to the bottom floor of the science ship. You damn world government people, I'll kill you! Luffy heard a voice and then ran over to the sound of the voice and found 2 people caged up guarded by Marines. He then knocked out some Marines and then went up to the cage to see a boy and girl locked up. "Who are you?" the boy said. "I'm just a pirate," Luffy said as he looked over to see a sign titled saying Ember. He then turned back over to 2 people. "What does Ember mean? Are you from a tribe?" Luffy asked the 2. "Yes, I'm from the legendary tribe, but I got captured by the world government," the boy replied. "I see. Well then, do you want to join my pirate crew?" Luffy asked the boy. "Your pirate crew?" the boy asked. Luffy was just laughing. "Well, you see, I have 2 goals. One is to become king of the pirates and oppose the world government," Luffy said. "Choose." "I'll let you decide. You want to change the world?" the boy asked Luffy, and then he was laughing again, and then grinned. "Only if I can manage to. I'll let you guys free," Luffy said, and he drew a sword and cut the iron bars and cut the chains off the Ember Boy. Soon enough the Marines came in and Luffy started slashing the Marines. They soon ran to the deck. "Oh, I forgot to ask you, what is your name?" Luffy asked the boy. "Lumen," the boy said. "Lumen, you seem strong." "Lumen, call yourself Spectral hereafter," Luffy said, and then Lumen's eyes widened and then Luffy started laughing and then Lumen just smiled. Luffy and Lumen walked back to ship and the crew's eye shocked. "Hey guys, this is our new crew member, Spectral," Luffy said. "Is he from a tribe?" Nami asked his captain. Luffy just nodded. "He is from the Ember tribe. He was captured by the world government," Luffy said, making everyone frown. "These world government people," Zoro said, "we should probably destroy their ship and get out of here as soon as possible." "Yeah, we need to head to Log Town right now," Luffy said, and Luffy cut the ship in half and then left for Log Town. "First Log Town, then we are heading to the Grand Line," Luffy said, and his crew nodded and set sail for Log Town. "You know, Luffy, you seem like a great pirate," Spectral said. Luffy was just laughing. "Thanks. We might need to get some clothes and some accessories because others might sell you off because you're from the Ember tribe," Luffy said. "Alright then, have it your way. By the way, do you think you teach me Haki?" Spectral asked his captain. "Will do, once we head to Grand Line," Luffy answered to Spectral. Log Town, East Blue, Smoker POV. "Captain Smoker, we just sighted the Straw Hats pirate ship," a Marine said, "and we got reports that they attacked the Punk Hazard ships. All of the scientists and Marine were wiped out by the pirates, and they slashed the government ship and left all of the Marines and scientists stranded." Smoker was frowning and face-palming because pirates attack a Punk Hazard ship, which was authorized by the world government in the East Blue. "Well, that's no good at all," Smoker said while looking annoyed. "How come?" Tashigi asked, confused. They clearly saw it coming. After all, they are idiots. "Doesn't matter," Smoker said. "Scientists have permission from the world government to function. What are the current bounty of that pirate crew?" "There is a bounty for the captain. It used to be 80 million berries," Sir, a Marine said. Smoker let the Marine continue as he was shaking in fear. "Wait, did he say used? But with this, it's 120 million. We need to go after him." Smoker said, "No matter how much his bounty is, we will capture him. We will not let him pass Log Town." Few hours later, Luffy POV. "We are almost there," Luffy said, "but we need to be fast. After our battle against the scientists, my bounty might have gone up big time and y'all don't have one yet. The Marines are probably around the area, so we need to be quick. I think there could be some pirates around Log Town, but whatever we can manage to do so," Nami said. "Now then, time for me to declare my dream of where GOLD. Roger was executed. Sanji, go get food supplies. Zoro, go buy new sword. Nami, go buy what I've asked you and anything else you might need. Usopp, go buy bullets. Kaya, buy and medical supplies we could need. But for me, I'm going to climb that platform," Luffy said. "Alright then," Zoro said. "This will attract the attention of people that could join me or my fleet in the process, which will piss off the Marines and the world government. There is one particular Marine captain is going to look for you, right?" Sanji said with seriousness. "I heard he has a Logia-type devil fruit. Haki can bypass Logia devil fruits. Besides, we are pirates, and Marine will always chase after us," Luffy said. "That's true," Nami agreeing with Luffy. "Be careful, Captain." "I'll be alright," Luffy said. "No Marine loser captain will catch me." Zoro then jumped ship first, then Nami, Usopp, Sanji, and Spectre. Luffy went to disguise himself. 2.5 hours later, Luffy was wearing a hood hiding his face. He felt the presence of the Marine captain around his area, and he tried to be not suspicious. He then saw the annoying Marine captain, Smoker, from a distance, and what he heard that Smoker was a Logia user. He walked around and saw the execution platform and grinned. Time to make the world shake. He jumped onto the platform and looked at the gathering crowd looking at him. You! A police officer said, "Get down from there right now." "Nope," Luffy said, angering the officer more. "Why would I want to do that?" He pissed off the Marines. "That's property of the world government," he screeches as Luffy kicked him into the building and then laughed. "Listen, all of you!" Luffy screamed, "I'm going to be the king of the pirates." And then lightning was summoned right behind him. Luffy then jumped down and met with his crew and heading back to ship. "Time for us to go to the Grand Line," Luffy said as his crew and him were running. But they were soon to be stopped by a young woman in her earlier 20s that was annoying. Zoro, "We will meet you in ship, don't take too long," Luffy said. "Don't worry about it," Captain Zoro said. "She isn't worthy opponent." Luffy saw multiple tick marks and anger on the woman's face. Luffy just ran to their way to the Going Merry until they were stopped by a man who's smoking 2 cigarettes. Luffy told his crew members to move on ahead. "Straw Hat, you're under arrest for attacking the world government," he said. "I'll not let you pass to the Grand Line. You're arresting me for defending my friends after a couple despicable morons, and they wanted them as test subjects," Luffy said. "Is this what it sounds like?" Luffy and Smoker heard the civilians around Luffy mumbling around the Marines defending the scientists, and looked furious at Smoker. The Marine captain ignored them and looked furious at Luffy. "You don't seem worthy of my time, Marine," Luffy said, "so why don't you just step aside and let me go the Grand Line? I have people waiting there." Smoker then charged at Luffy, but Luffy just ignored him, making him more angry. "You damn pirate!" Smoker said as he turns into smoke and charged at Luffy, trying to hit him with a sea stone weapon, but Luffy blocked it with his katana. Luffy had a bored expression on his face because he was not satisfied of the fight that Smoker was giving him, but decided to play with pirates. "So that's your way of defeating pirates, loser," Luffy said while a smiling grin, even though he knew Smoker was a Logia because of the rumors. "You damn Logia types are nothing but trash." Luffy then kicked Smoker in the face with armament Haki and then punching him, sending him flying and crashing into multiple buildings. "Piece of trash. I was not satisfied. If you want to defeat me so badly, then bring an admiral, or get on my level." Luffy then went back to ship but then stopped because he felt someone present somewhere around his radius thanks to observation Haki. He then sighed because he knew who it was. "Come out, Dad, I know you here," Luffy said. "How long are you going to keep hiding from me?" Luffy then turned. Here's another thunderstorm. Out of the shadows, a man wearing a hood appeared in front of Luffy and then smiled. "Monkey D. Dragon. Well, it's nice to see you're doing well, Luffy," Dragon said. "The world is depending on our answer," causing Luffy to smirk a bit. "They will get sooner or later," Luffy said. "It's been years since Grandpa Rocks was defeated. It was a shame that he was defeated by Roger and Garp." Dragon said, "I'm surprised that my father-in-law didn't make you into a Marine. Believe me, I don't see good in Marines or the world government." Luffy said, "I dedicate my life to Shanks after he saved me from a sea king." "Red-haired came to Fusha village?" Dragon asked in a surprised tone. Luffy then chuckled a bit, and then nodded. "For how long?" "Well, he came to Fusha when I was 7, and then he trained me Haki at the age of 14. But I would say he had raised me for about 3 years," Luffy said, surprising his father. "Meanwhile, with Garp's abusive training, he didn't teach me on how to fight. I suppose you know about his training." "Believe me, that was not proper training. I hated that child experience ever since," Dragon said. "But I do have one question. How old were you when Garp had trained you?" "Believe it or not, he trained me when I was about 5 years old," Luffy said as Dragon just frowned and still remembers Garp's abusive training. "By the way, I was told you were in the Navy once? But then quit to create the Revolutionary Army?" "I did join the Navy once, son, but once I saw the lack of justice Marines were giving and the O'Hara incident, I resigned, formed the Freedom Fighters, and later created the Revolutionary Army," Dragon said, making Luffy chuckle a bit. "Also, I don't think you know, but Sabo is alive," making Luffy's eye widen but then smirked. "Well then, knowing Ace, he would be mad for leaving us," Luffy said as he partially laughing. "Anyways, any word about Mom at all?" "Not yet, but I'm sure she is doing alright. Soon enough you will get to see her. Don't let Garp stop you from seeing her," Dragon said. "Alright," Luffy said as he gives his dad a Viva card and Den Mushy number. "Take those. We might meet again in the future. Until then." "It was great seeing you, Dad." Dragon then smiled at his son with proudness. "It was great seeing you, Luffy," Dragon said. "I'm sure Rox is watching you carrying on his legacy." Dragon then disappears when the lightning strike, and then Luffy made his way back to ship to meet back with his crew. "Captain, What took you so long? Spectral asked. Yeah, we have been waiting here for 5 minutes for you, Nami said. Sorry, I had a talk with someone I know, but it's a secret for now, Luffy said. Zoro and Robin were smiling and made there to the Grand Line. Share, Grand Line. So, we made it to the Reverse Mountain. Now time for our adventure into the Grand Line, Luffy said. I can't wait. That's mean we can get to have our devil's fruits? Nami asked his captain. Ha ha ha, I figured you guys wanted your devil fruits so badly. But alright then, Luffy said. Luffy gives Nami the Denki Denki no Mi fruit, a paramecia type of electric. Luffy gives Kaya that Kaze Kaze no Mi fruit, a Logia type of breeze. Luffy gives Spectral Doka Doka no Mi fruit, a paramecia type of poison. Hey Luffy, is there supposed to be another mountain after this because you told us you went to the Grand Line before, right? Zoro said. No, why? He asked. Zoro pointed at something in the distance. Shit! It's a whale, Luffy said. Whale? Everyone screamed. We need to hurry and stop the ship before we crash into the whale, Luffy said, panicking. This might piss off the whale, but we need to stop it from crashing. Usopp shot the cannons quickly. Got it, Usopp said as he went and shoot the cannons. The ship was starting to slow down. The figurehead broke and flew off. Okay, that was almost bad, Nami said. Yeah, but we need to fix this really quick, Luffy said as everyone took a look at the figurehead. I'll try to fix it, Usopp said, but let's try to avoid more damage for right now. What the hell is the whale doing? Sanji asked suddenly. Spectral's eyes widened as the whale just opened his mouth. Oh shit. That's bad, Kaya said. Didn't expect this kid to be here, a man said. Luffy turned to his right and Luffy just smiled. It was the doctor of GOLD Roger crew. Crocus San, Luffy said, making his crew looking at the old man. It's been a while, has it, Shanks Anchor, he said, making Luffy feel embarrassed in front of his crew members. Guess Laboon thought you were food alongside that squid. Luffy and his crew screamed when they saw the giant squid, and seconds later Crocus shot it with a harpoon gun. It's great seeing you here, Crocus, but we need to go before the stomach acid destroys your ship, Luffy said. The door is over there, Crocus said. I suggest you wait for Laboon to go up first. Right now he is underneath us right now. Luffy then saw into the future and saw the door being blown up by two figures. One was the Princess of Alabasta, Nefertiti Vivi. Luffy was in shock to see his old friend that he hasn't seen over 6 years. She has grown more beautiful than the last time she saw her. Crocus kicked both of them, but Luffy grabbed her in bridal style and returned to the Mary. Meanwhile, the other guy was falling into the ocean, which Zoro had to go grab him, but he was on unconscious for a while. And Luffy set down Vivi and just smiled at her. Who are you? She spoke. Oh, come on. You're telling me you forgot me, Luffy said. Meanwhile, Zoro brought back the drop and placed him down on the floor unconscious. I don't? She asked, confused. Luffy removed his hat from his head and just grinned. Oh, come on, how can't you recognize someone that you knew 6 years ago, Luffy said. Vivi's eyes widened. It can't be, she said. Luffy? You look beautiful, Luffy said. Vivi. Vivi and Luffy shared a hug. Sanji felt jealously of his captain. Nami was shocked. How about we go for a little trip, Luffy said. I'm getting hungry and thirsty. I totally forgot to eat something on the way. Ha ha ha. Vivi was laughing at Luffy's antics. Luffy and his crew went to Whiskey Peaks to give themselves drinks and food. Vivi didn't want to tell Luffy about what was happening. Hey Luffy, can I tell you something? Vivi said. What is it? If it's something about Baroque works, then it's not a problem, Luffy said, making Vivi's eye widen. How do you know? Vivi asked Luffy. Meanwhile, he was grinning. I have someone on my crew working for your boss as a spy, Luffy replied. I didn't know what was going on, but if I knew, then I would have called a pirate friend. Thank you, Luffy, Vivi said. Luffy, who is this girl? Spectral said, causing everyone to be curious on who this girl is. Luffy just smiled. This is Vivi, she is my best friend from 6 years ago, Luffy said. She is the Princess of Alabasta. Alright, nice to meet Vivi, Zoro said, but what about these bounty hunters? The crew looked at the bounty hunters. Luffy just to act pretend on them, until it was later nighttime. Nighttime. A few hours later, Luffy opened his eyes and got up silently with crew. They smiled as escaped without the bounty hunters realizing what was going on. All of the crew members went to hide around the corners of where the bounty hunters were. How much does that guy eat? One complained. Who knows? Vivi's guard said that dude has a bounty of over 100 million. Over 100 million! Vivi screeched. We should have killed them while he had the chance. A big muscle woman said. I agree. If you would have. Zoro started with Wado on his shoulder, making every bounty hunter froze in place. But then, you would have had no chance against us. Sanji continues after Zoro. the bounty hunters started to back away from them. Because you guys don't know what strength we have in our crew, Nami continues. Bounty hunters froze in fear. Some bounty hunters tried to run but stopped by Spectral. Why are you guys running? I thought you were trying to take us out, but now you want to run, Spectral said, mocking the bounty hunters. The muscle woman shook off the sweat from her face. Who care what strength you guys hold, the muscle woman said. There is only 7 of them. Take them out. All of the bounty hunters charged at the crew. Luffy just smirked while having his sunglasses on. Looks like we are playing with bounty hunters, Luffy said. And then crew starts to attack back towards the bounty. Never underestimate your enemies, Kaya said while freezing the ground, causing the bounty hunters to be iced on the floor. Meanwhile, Nami's electrocuting the other bounty hunters. 2. Hell, another bounty hunter cursed electric and ice. And so, the beat-down of the bounty hunters started to begin. Luffy was fighting with the muscle woman and Vivi. Vivi was pretending to hit Luffy. Your bounty will be mine, the big muscle woman said while bringing down her sword to cut Luffy. But Luffy blocked it, causing her to sweat. Sorry, you're gonna have to find someone else's bounty, Luffy said as he activates his armament Haki and breaking the woman's sword in half. What the? A big man said, what was that and how did you do that? This is Haki, Luffy said, so now I can defeat your boss easily now. I heard he has a Logia-type devil fruit. Come on now, don't chicken out. We need to defeat them, a blonde woman said. Feisty, huh? Luffy said, well, no complaints from me, the blonde woman, and Luffy started going into a fight when someone intervened trying to shoot both of them down, but Luffy dodged and moved the women out and the way and knocked out the shooter with Conqueror's Haki. Why do people intervene with my fights? Luffy said to himself. People can literally win on their own strength. He then picked up the woman who was the ground and kicked the shooter away and sending him flying into the ocean. And then placed the women on a table. Anyways, what is your name? Luffy asked the blonde woman. Makita, she replied. Thanks for saving me. It's no worries, Luffy said. I do really hate it when people intervene with my fights, and with that he smiled. And he looked at the 2 strange animals that were unconscious. Who are those? Those are the unluckies. They report to Crocodile, Makita and Vivi said in unison. Crocodile? The warlord? Lucky me, Luffy said as he was grinning. He finally gets to fight against one of the 7 warlords of the sea. You know him? Vivi asked him. He is one of the warlords of the sea, Luffy said. So Crocodile is your boss, huh? Well then hopefully I can get a good fight from him. Wait, I think I know you, Makita said. Are you that famous rookie from the East Blue? Yes, I am. I'm looking for people to join my fleet, Luffy said. Could you possibly join? I am probably going to be hunted by. Why not, Makita said. What will I be then? You are going to be one of the commanders of my fleet. You will be the captain of your own ship. But you will be under my command, Luffy answered. I accept, Makita said, but can I ask a favor? Depends, honestly, Luffy said. Do you think you can offer my adoptive sister the same? I want her to be with me, Makita said. Okay, family is important. What is her codename anyway? Luffy said. Mrs. Golden Week, and her partner is Mr. 3. Makita said. Mr. 3 has some very good strategies and would be good for your fleet, Vivi said. Well then we should get going, Luffy said, although I'm kind of hungry from fighting. You're still a gluttony after these 6 years, Vivi said. You haven't changed much. But I am hungry, that's all, he complains, and then Vivi slaps Luffy's in the face and makes a bored face expression. Okay, let's get going. Alright, Vivi said. I need to stop by Water 7 for a boat. But can I tag along with you guys? Makita said. My sister should be around Little Garden somewhere. Alright then, Luffy said. Hey crew, we have to go stop by Little Garden first. The crew nodded, and they went to Mary. Igaram, Vivi's guard, appeared in front of them in an outfit which made all of the male crew members pale and looked horrified. What the hell is that? Luffy screams in horror and covered his eyes. I think I need some sea water in my eyes. No! Sanji screamed as he covered his eyes. His shirt. I want to get this off of my head. Please wear a different outfit other than that. Spectral screamed and she swamps to ship's floor with poison. Who made you wear that? Zoro screamed as he passes out on the floor. Usopp just covered her eyes into Kaya's dress. Nami just sighed. Vivi just sweat dropped at the male crewmates. The males didn't want to see that nightmare until they heard an explosion from behind. Igaram! Vivi screams, but stopped by Luffy by the arm. Calm down. He is fine, Luffy said. I can sense it through my observation Haki. We might as well get going for right now. Vivi turns around and hugged Luffy from the behind as she was crying. They all departed from Whiskey Peaks, and then Luffy was a familiar presence on his ship. Captain, it's been a while, has it? Robin said. Vivi and Makita were in fear. Calm down, she is one of us, Luffy said. making Vivi and Makita feel relived. Big sis. You returned, Nami said at the same time hugging her. I see you picked up some new crew members on the way, Robin said while laughing. You have been busy for a while. Yeah, I have been. Even though I'm lazy most of the times, but I'm getting there, Luffy said. Any word on Crocodile because I'm itching to defeat a warlord. He only wants me to read the Poneglyph of Alabasta, Robin said. Vivi looked surprised. You can read Poneglyphs, Vivi asked Robin. Yes, I can, Robin replied, but I don't know what he wants from it. It's a weapon, Vivi said. It's been passed down from generations. He will be pissed off about me betraying him. But I will tell you his plans, Robin said. Plus, we are setting sail for Little Garden because we are looking for others to recruit into the fleet, Luffy said. Alright then, after that we are going to Alabasta? Robin asked her captain, which he nodded. Let's go, Luffy said to Little Garden. His crew nodded. Little Garden, Luffy's POV. We've made it to Little Garden, Luffy said. You said your sister was here, right? Makita nodded. This island looks so amazing, Nami said. My sister said there are some dinosaurs here, Makita said. Dinosaurs? There is no way, Sanji said. Well, I'm going to go look for your sister, Luffy said. Want to tag along? Makita nodded. Soon enough, Luffy, Spectral, Vivi and Makita jumped ship to try to find Ms. Golden Week and Mr. 3. Zoro and Sanji go find some dinosaurs for we can have dinosaur meats on way to Alabasta, Luffy says. The two of them nodded and went to go find some dinosaurs. Meanwhile, Usopp, Kaya, Nami and Robin remained on the ship just to make sure someone or something attacks the ship. A few minutes later, Luffy and his group found Ms. Golden Week and Mr. 3. Makita rushed towards Marianne, who looked mad at her older stepsister. Marianne, Makita said, can we please talk about what she asked? We heard that you betrayed our boss. Because I was offered a better job, Makita said. What is that? Mr. 3 asked. To become one of my commanders, Luffy answers for Makita. If you want to fight, then you're going to end up like those bounty hunters back at Whiskey Peaks. Mr. 3 started to sweat when Luffy appeared, and then Spectral appeared next to him. Your straw hat, Luffy, Marianne said. Bounty of 120 million berries. Mr. 3 started to scream in fear. Vivi appears right next to Makita and taps Luffy on the shoulder, and shows Luffy a devil fruit in her hands. Where did you get that devil fruit? Luffy asked Vivi. I found it near the lake, Vivi replied. Once we get back to ship, we will check out the devil fruit, Luffy said, and then turned to look at Marianne and Gladino, and then open his mouth. Alright, I'm going to offer the same deal I gave to Makita, Luffy said. Will you guys join my fleet? I accept, Gladino said. I know you are powerful than me and I'm not dumb enough to fight you. Alright then, Luffy said. Makita, you, Marianne and Gladino can start heading to Water 7 to make you guys a ship. You can either wait for me there or I'll pay the ship for you. Alright, Captain, Makita said. Marianne, will you be the vice captain of the ship? As long as it's not so troublesome, then no problem, Marianne said. Luffy's group started returning back to ship. Meanwhile, Zoro and Sanji brought back some dinosaurs. Nami gave Makita and her friends a small boat for them to sail to Water 7. Then the crew saw two giants appear, and after eating some food together they had departed. Luffy eventually convinced the two giants to become members of Luffy's fleet, which the giants accepted and promised to get more giants to join Luffy's fleet. Soon enough, the two giants helped them set sail for Alabasta. Luffy and Vivi went to grab the list of devil fruit book from Luffy's room, and Vivi placed down the devil fruit onto the table, and Luffy scattered through the book to find what was the devil fruit called. Found it, Luffy said, and then looks at the devil fruit. Luffy then saw it was the Toratora no Mi fruit, model, Storm Tiger, mythical Zoan type fruit. Luffy then told Vivi that she could eat the fruit if she wanted to. Without no hesitation, Vivi just ate the fruit, and then made a disgusting face but continued to finish it anyways. How do you feel? Luffy asked. I feel weird, but I'm sure I can get the hang of it, Vivi replied. Luffy just smiled. Well then, once you master it you can fight with it no time, Luffy said, and at the moment he started to get very tired and unable to walk. Are you okay? Vivi asked, worried. Yeah, just tired, Luffy answered. We need to get going for right now, and then Luffy then falls down, and then everything turned dark. Vivi POV. Luffy! She screams as she saw her friend fall down unconscious to the floor and went to check him. Everyone heard Vivi scream and then entered the room in a hurry. What happened? Nami asked while looking worried. She then turned to Luffy, was still on the floor. Luffy, are you alright? Zoro and Sanji ran in and carried Luffy to the bed. He has a high fever, Vivi said. We need to stop on an island for a doctor. Are you sure? Luffy asked barely with any voice. Vivi started to cry onto Luffy. We need to go to Alabasta, Vivi said, but you come first. You are one of my friends, I can't let you die. Alright then, if that's your decision, Luffy said, until I'm fully healed, Zoro and Robin, you are in charge of the crew. And then Luffy loses consciousness again. Alright then, Captain Robin said, we need to head to Drum Island, hurry. Alright then, Zoro said. Why did Luffy put Moss said in charge along with Robin? Schwan Sanji protested. Sorry, but I don't take insults from perverts, Zoro replied. Sanji was pissed off and then started to attack Zoro. But Zoro stopped his leg from hitting his head. With that, Vivi hit both of them in the head. No fighting. Vivi said, your captain is on the verge of death right now. Y'all can argue once Luffy is recovered, Nami said. For right now, help out Luffy until we get to the island, Robin said. Yes, Robin, Schwan Sanji said. Meanwhile, Zoro, Spectral, Usopp and Kaya just sweat dropped. Pervert, all of the thought in unison. They eventually changed their route to Drum Island since Luffy was sick, until Zoro spotted a ship in front of them. Hey guys, we got a problem, Zoro said. There's a strange guy with an unknown ship. Vivi, stay with Luffy, we will take care of it, Robin said. Vivi nodded and then sat next to him, and she started to cry for him and placed her hand onto Luffy's hand. Meanwhile, Luffy is unconscious. Vivi then heard some noises outside. Moments later, some unknown doctors entered, looked very exhausted with Nami stepping on them. These morons were serving to a king, Nami said. We took over their submarine and kicked their king and 2 morons into the ocean. Can you please check up on him? Vivi asked, worried for her sake of losing his best friend. The doctors check up on Luffy, and they shook their heads in negativity. Apparently he caught an unknown sickness, one of the doctors said. You guys need to head to Drum Island ASAP, another doctor said. Dr. Kureha can probably heal him. Who is that? Kaya said. A very genius woman in medicine who is over 130 years old, the doctor answered. If we can get to Drum Island, she can cure him. Then I'll do anything in my power as the navigator of this crew, Nami said as she went outside. Drum Island. 2 days later, Vivi exchanges places with Robin and went outside. It was cold, and she there were here. Suddenly, they were surrounded. You pirates must leave, one of the villagers said. Wait, please. Vivi said, our captain is very sick, and we need to get him to a doctor. If you help him, then he will return the favor. She's right, Usopp said. He is like my brother. Please help us. You are with those doctors who are working for Wapol, a villager said. Wapol was defeated by these pirates, Vivi said. He is no longer a threat. Are you serious? A big man said. My name is Dalton. Follow me, we will help you. And Captain, we are going to have to hide this ship for now, Zoro said. I'll take Luffy. Alright then, Robin said. For right now, Spectral and Usopp, go hide the ship. Vivi, Nami, Sanji, and Kai come with me. The crew nodded, and Zoro took Luffy to bed and then joined the rest of the crew. How do we contact this doctor? Zoro asked Dalton. She lives in the drum towers over there, Dalton said sadly. There is no way of going there. We just wait for her to come to us. What about the lifters? One of the doctors said. None of them works for right now, Dalton answered. Wait, I think I saw one of them working. Well then let's take Luffy, Zoro said. He is getting more worse if we keep sitting around here. The Straw Hats nodded and then went to the lifters and went to castle. As soon as they entered to the castle, nobody was home, and so Kaya went to look for something to help out Luffy. But then Dr. Kureha and an assistant came back. After explaining what had happened, the crew took Luffy to bed and waited outside for a few hours. Meanwhile, Kureha was working. Soon enough, Luffy recovered a bit, and then explained what caused Luffy's sickness. And then he woken up. And then Vivi started hugging her to making him feel warm again, and then Luffy just smiled. Soon enough they meet Chopper, who was scared of strangers. You are a reindeer with a blue nose, aren't you? Luffy asked. Are you a doctor? I am. So what? He asked, so aggressive. Easy there, little guy. Anyways, you see Kaya here? Luffy asked. Chopper nodded. She wants to become a doctor, and she's been studying to become one since she was young and continue when she joined my crew. That's right, Chopper-san, Kaya said. I would like an expert like you to join us and teach me more about how to become a doctor. Chopper blushed and did a happy dance while saying about how he doesn't like to be praised, which was a complete lie, because of his smile. He is definitely happy, Vivi said. Luffy and Kaya just smiled at Chopper. But I can't. Chopper said, I am not human. I have a blue nose, and I am a monster to all reindeers. Listen, my home island was destroying for wanted to know history. Robin said. They call me a devil child and blame me of destroying marine ships when I was 8 years old. You are anything but a monster, Chopper. Even if you were, then you will be joining a crew of monsters, so join my crew and we can turn the world upside down and help complete your dreams. Alright then, Chopper said, I'll help you. Vivi smiled at that and gave Luffy and Robin a hug. After resting for a few hours, Nami gives Kureha a request to let Luffy go, and after being chased by Kureha, Chopper escapes with the rest of the Straw Hats from above when Kureha shoots the cannons to form a representation of Sakura 3. Time for us to go and free Alabasta, Luffy said. Vivi smiled at that, and the rest of Straw Hats nodded. Alabasta. A few days later, the Straw Hats were en route to head to Alabasta. Luffy was feeling a bit better these nowadays. How are you feeling, Captain? Spectral asks. I'm feeling good, thanks for taking care of me, Luffy replied. His crew just smiles now. Then we are almost to Alabasta. I'd been itching to beat up Crocodile. We better get some supplies and hunt him down. Zoro said we can try to attack the casino just in case. We can split into groups. Well, I'm obviously going to the casino, Luffy said. Same here, Spectral said. Count me in, Zoro said. I am going, Aswa, Robin said. Alright then, I guess we are going to the King's Palace, Usopp said. Seems like it, Nami said. Hopefully Dad hasn't gotten into trouble lately. I'm pretty sure he has been worried about me. Don't you worry, Nami, Vivi and Kaya, I'll protected you, Sanji said, and started to have a nosebleed. Meanwhile, Luffy and the crew looked at him annoyed. Pervy Cook, Luffy, Zoro and Spectral said. Pervert, Nami and Usopp said. Kaya and Robin just giggled at what had happened. Sanji, Chopper said, don't die. We need a doctor. Chopper, you are the doctor, Kaya said, giggling at Chopper. Oh, right, Chopper said, blushing in embarrassment. Luffy just laughed it off as he checks up on him. If we are going into groups, then we should probably get baby snails, Spectral said, but I think someone needs to stay here and protect the ship. Good point, Nami said. I'll see if we could buy them from here. Please remind me how many times that Sanji had passed out, Luffy said. And then his crew said 3 times, and Luffy just sighed, and then his observation, Haki felt someone familiar close by. Luffy told his crew that his brother was here and then went in gear 2 and went up to fast speed to meet with brother. When he found him, he has been bothered by Smoker, so then naturally Luffy kicked him away from Ace and sending him crashing into multiple buildings. Ace, Luffy said. Luffy, Ace said as they fist boomed. It's been a while, has it, little brother? Have many years has it been? Luffy said. You look great. How have you been doing? Before Ace could respond, the Marine captain came back all bruised up in the face by the kick. Straw Hat, he said furiously. Meanwhile, he was bleeding. You and Fire Fist are under arrest. Yeah, that won't happen if you are fighting an infamous rookie and Yonko commander, Luffy said. It will happen. I am bringing you in, Smoker said while trying to attack them. Just shut up already, you are annoying us, Ace said as he kicked him, while Armament Haki and sent the annoying Marine out of the restaurant. Both brothers walked out with an annoyed expression on their faces. The Marines were pointing their rifles at them, but Luffy knocked them out with Conqueror's Haki. The only not unconscious Marine was the female assistant on her knees, Tashigi, according to Zoro. But she was sweating and, on her knees, breathing heavily, and close to her was her Marine captain. If you and your captain want to catch me so bad, he better bring an Admiral or Garp, Luffy said. Fighting you guys is no sport at all. The only thing that will satisfies me if I get to fight Crocodile. He won't listen to me. He always insisted on capturing you himself, she said. Well, pray that he will listen to you. Tell him that he is not worthy of my time of fighting, Luffy said. Come on, Ace. We are getting out here before the annoying captain gets in our way again. Alright, little brother, Ace said. Luffy was having a friendly conversation on the way to Going Merry. He then told him that everyone went shopping for some supplies and some clothes for the climate. Ace destroyed the Million's ship of Baroque works. They went to hide the Merry. Still going after that Blackbeard bastard, Luffy asked. Even Shanks told us about that bastard. Yes, Luffy, it's my duty as the second commander, and the one responsible for that traitor, Ace said. Ace, don't be so stubborn. Have you trained your Haki at all ever since you joined the Whitebeard Pirates, Luffy said, but Ace didn't say anything and just smiled as he gives him his Viva card. I swear, that stubborn fire idiot always pisses me off whenever I tell him anyways, Luffy whispers to himself, and then went to his room and then take out his Den Mushi and called Shanks. Oh, hey Anchor, Luffy heard Shanks said on the Den Mushi that turns into a miniature version of red-headed Yonko. Shanks, we have a problem here, Luffy said, causing Shanks to feel worried. What happened? Shanks asked, and then Luffy told him about Ace going after Teach. Because of his stubbornness, what a jackass. That guy is extremely dangerous. I know, Luffy said. Ace isn't that strong to take on Teach himself, so I feel like war is coming. Shanks finished. I know if Teach turns Ace into the Marines, it will be an all-out war. Knowing the current fleet admiral, he won't care about declaring war with Yonkos. There will not be only one. Shanks said, you and Ace are like my son. I know Dragon is your father, but I feel you as my son along with Sabo. If the Marines try anything, it's going to be an all-out war. Well then, I'd better train my crew, Luffy said, but for right now I need to beat up on Warlord and I won't let my brother die. Luffy then started laughing. Well, hopefully you are ready to take on a Warlord, Shanks said. Take care. I'll see if the war happens later, Luffy said, and then hanged up the Den Mushi and then looked at his crew. There is going to be a war? Robin asked. There might be a huge chance of it happening, Luffy said. We need to be prepared. By that I mean training if the war is gonna happen. Hopefully the Yonko are going to be allies to us during the war, Nami said. We are going to be training harder. But first, let's take care of Crocodile, Luffy said. Yes, Captain, his crew said as they started going to the palace. The dessert was held. They managed to find their way thanks to Robin. They soon arrived after 2 dessert days. The city was beautiful until Luffy saw the casino, and then he frowns. Marines are here, Spectral said. Man, what a jackass he is, Luffy said. I'll take care of Crocodile's right-hand man. Zoro, mind if I be assisted? Spectral asked. Zoro nodded. Me and Nami can take care of the girl, Kaien said. And then both of them ran off to fight the girl. We will assist on the cannon fodder, Sanji and Usopp said. I'll go beat up Smoker. Again, Luffy said. Let's not, Captain, for right now, Robin said. Let's just focus on beating up Crocodile. He will be just wasting our time. Guess you're right, Luffy said. Let's go. And then the predictable Captain appeared again, covered in bandages. Ready to attack once again. Can you just step aside? We came to beat up Crocodile, not just waiting our time with you. Shut up, Straw Hat. I'm taking you in no matter what. Smoker said. Luffy sighed and then waited for him to come forward with an annoyed look in his eyes. Luffy dodges his smoke and stomped on him, and then kicked him, making him crash into a building again. All of the Marines were in fear but still pointed their rifles at 2 pirates. Luffy gave them an annoyed eye roll, and then Robin crosses his arms. Dos Fleur, Robin said as hands started appearing on the Marine's clutch, causing every Marine's bone to break. I swear, Marines really don't know when to quit, Luffy said. Let's hurry up. Robin nodded and ran towards to the casino. Kaya and Nami later joined up with them. Luffy then told them to head to Palace. Meanwhile, Luffy and Robin were running towards the casino, and then they started attacking Crocodile's minions and Vivi's group going to Palace. Robin, go with the others. I'll be done with Crocodile in a few minutes, Luffy said. And Robin nodded and ran outside and headed to the palace, and then Luffy kicked down the door, saw the sand bastard, who looked annoyed. You little brat, Crocodile said while annoyed. What up, Crocboy, Luffy said, and laughing as he saw Crocodile's eye twitch at that nickname. Anyways, I've had to deal with several Marine on the way here to beat your ass while cracking his knuckles. You really think you can defeat Rookie? Crocodile said as he went forward to attack Luffy, only for Luffy to dodge and kick him towards the wall, making Crocodile cough up blood. Oh yeah, forgot to mention, Luffy said, Robin was never loyal to you. She had always been a member of the Straw Hat Pirates. What? He screamed, I'll kill you. Sables. 3 sharp claws made of sand went towards Luffy, but Luffy used Gear Second and punches it with armament Haki, and punching the sand user towards the roof and making him cough up more blood. I don't care what you are, Luffy said, and he kicks Crocodile up in the air again. I will surpass you even if you are a warlord. As he takes out his sword and coated it with Haki and defeated Crocodile with one single slash and breaking the bedrock underneath. Sayonara, Crocodile, Luffy said. Your warlord days are over. He then received a call from Nami, telling that they defeated the agents, and Luffy just smiled. That's good, Luffy said. Crocodile has been defeated. And then Alabasta started to rain and Luffy went to go help defuse the bomb and went to the palace to recover. A few hours later. So, you said we are going to stay here for a while to train in case war comes? Spectral asked. That's right, Luffy said. Ace is pretty stubborn, so it might be possible. Hey Luffy, about what you say earlier, Vivi said, Vivi recalling that Luffy asked her to be part of her crew. He then gave her some time to think about joining. I talked to my dad about, and he said he's okay with it. Well then, welcome aboard, Luffy said while smiling. Also, I don't think I got to see you master your devil fruit. Well, I think this might be a good opportunity for me to learn Haki and master my devil fruit, Vivi said, making the crew smile at her. Maybe because your blood is calling for adventure. After all, you are part of the D clan, Cobra said, making Luffy's eye widen. Wait, so, your true name is Nefertiti D. Vivi? Luffy asked Vivi, which she nodded. Luffy and his crew were stunned. How the hell? That's the reason we didn't ascend, Cobra said. Alright, we can talk about this later, Luffy said, but we need to train in case of something happens. Of course, Cobra said. Hopefully you guys are doing alright. Y'all can crash at the palace until you depart. Middle of the sea, Grand Line. Luffy was sitting on the ship's figurehead. Meanwhile, the others were resting after going through some training during their time in Alabasta. Vivi came along and joined the crew. Chopper was patching everyone up after their fight with Crocodile and some marines. Suddenly, Vivi came running into Luffy. Vivi screamed, "You have to see the news!" Luffy got off the figurehead and grabbed the newspaper from Vivi, and his eyes widened at the newspaper and bounty poster. "My bounty went up big time and I'm on the news too," Luffy said, and all of the crew members had taken a look at the newspaper and then smirked. "Our captain is sure something for sure," Spectral said while laughing. Marineford, Marine Headquarters. Garp POV. Garp was chilling in his office and eating some rice crackers when a news coup came flying into his window that he had paid for. He then took a sip of his coffee and then spit it out once he saw the front cover. Straw Hat Luffy, famous rookie from the East Blue, has taken down Warlord of the Sea, Crocodile. Garp then taken a look at Luffy's bounty poster, and then Garp straight up burst out laughing. His grandson became so powerful that he was able to get large of a bounty at the age of 17. He was so proud. He could only imagine how much shame he is bringing to the Navy. Just then, one of the people he was thinking about just entered into his office. "GRP. Sengoku screamed, "It's your ING family again." Garp just laughing on how proud he is at his grandson bringing shame to the Navy. Some island on the Grand Line. Shanks POV. Shanks and his crew hearing a drink. He then wonders how Luffy was doing after since their last talk over the Den Mushi. He then almost went to sleep because woken up by the screams of his crew members. He then got out of bed and went to check up on them. "What's going on?" Shanks asks. "The newspaper. It's about Luffy," Lucky said, and then Shanks' eyes widened, and then he smiled. "Almost to 1 billion, that's our anchor," Shanks said. Baltigo, Dragon POV. He was sitting in his office, and he got up to get some fresh air. As he was walking by, he then saw some bounty posters of his son and his crew sitting by Terry, and then looked at the newspapers. "What's this?" Dragon asks. These new papers are about the Straw Hat Pirates. They recently taken down Crocodile and Alabasta," Terry said. "I see. When I'm going to get some fresh air," Dragon said as he walks outside. "I see you are doing well, Luffy. Taking down a warlord is something, but hopefully you can defeat one of the emperors of the sea someday. My son, you and I will meet again, and you will get to see Sabo very soon, somewhere in the New World." Whitebeard's POV. "Pops, you won't believe this," Marco said. "What is it, son?" Whitebeard asks. "Look at Ace's brother Bounty, and he's on the front cover of the news," Marco said as he gives Whitebeard the newspaper and Bounty. "Taking down a warlord. Hopefully he can take down an emperor." Whitebeard smiled. "This is truly the start of the new generation. He is hoping to meet this brat someday." Middle of the sea, Grand Line. "My bounty is nearly 1 billion. Soon enough I could be an emperor," Luffy said to himself with pure happiness on his face as he was looking at his new bounty. He had a murderous grin meanwhile fighting his crocodile. Everyone started looking at each other's bounty. Once Luffy picked up Sanji's bounty, he then started laughing, so much the point that he started laughing to his stomach on the ground. He was laughing at the name and picture of Sanji's poster. "Captain, why are you laughing?" Spectral asked, very confused. "You barely laugh at any time of our adventures," Zoro said. But Luffy couldn't stop laughing at Sanji's poster, and then he falls down to floor to his stomach with stopping his laughter. He then gave Spectral Sanji's bounty poster and Spectral started laughing. Zoro was very annoyed but started laughing once he grabbed Sanji's poster. The girls saw this, and they were very annoyed, but once they grabbed Sanji's poster they started to laugh to the floor. Usopp and Chopper were wondering about the laughing, and they went up to them, asked them what was going on. Luffy then gave Usopp the bounty poster of Sanji, and then Usopp and Chopper started busted out laughing at Sanji's poster. "What are you guys laughing about?" Sanji asked his fellow crewmates, but once he grabbed the bounty poster off of Luffy's hand, everyone started laughing as Sanji's eye started to twitch at his bounty poster. "Why the hell did you give me this name? And what's with the picture?" And everyone started laughing harder, due to Sanji's annoyance, and they later started laughing again as they saw Sanji mopping on the ground. Blackleg pervert Sanji, wanted dead or alive, 90 million berries. Soon enough they stopped laughing and looked at each other's bounty posters. Straw Hat Luffy, wanted dead or alive, 500 million berries. Almost at a billion. Luffy said, I am really the famous rookie of these seas. Pirate Hunter Zoro, wanted dead or alive, 200 million berries. Alright, not bad, Zoro said. Demon Child Robin, wanted dead or alive, 180 million berries. Fufufu. This is amazing, Robin said. Sniper of Heaven Usopp, wanted dead or alive, 80 million berries. I love the nickname Usopp said, nice bounty for a start. Electro Master Nami, wanted dead or alive, 120 million berries. Nice nickname, Nami said, this is great. Breezy Kaya, wanted dead or alive, 110 million berries. Dang. I need 10 million berries to tie with Nami, Kaya said, but Nami just patting her head. Poison King Spectral, wanted dead or alive, 150 million berries. 4th place, huh? Well, that's fine by me if I get a high bounty, Spectral said. Nefertiti Vivi, wanted dead or alive, 80 million berries. 80 million berries? Not bad, I'm tied with Usopp, Vivi said. Monster Dr. Chopper, wanted dead or alive, 500 berries. Why is my bounty so low compared to everyone else? I love the name, but the bounty, Chopper exclaimed. Chopper was gone on a tantrum, but Robin stops him by giving him candy. Soon enough everyone heard about the famous rookie on these seas in the Grand Line. Mock Town. So, remind me why are arriving here? Nami asks. We are trying to find some information for us able to go to Sky Island. I heard Shanks and Gold Roger came here for some information. Since this is a pirate island and it's lawless, Marines have no rights to step foot on this island, Luffy said. Finally, no Marines to bother us, especially that annoying Marine captain that has been chasing us. Spectral said, it's wonderful that you join us, Vivi, after you got yourself a bounty. Since I have a devil fruit now and bounty, that means I'm part of the crew, Vivi said. Luffy smiled. Alright, we need to get some information fast, Luffy said. We can't waste our time for other pirates. Luffy then put on his coat. Nami, Zoro, come with me. Vivi, you're going with Robin and Kaya. The rest of you, guard the ship until we get back. Yes, Captain. His crew said. Luffy and his group started getting off his ship, trying to ignore every pirate on the island. No one has acknowledged me yet. Seems like my bounty hasn't reached out to this island yet. Well, no complaints. Let's try the hotel, Nami said. We can try to find someone gossip about it there. Luffy agreed, and make their way to the hotel. They later found some strange people. Luffy could see they were very dangerous. We felt someone was here, and he then saw the owner looking pale and started to sweat. He instantly recognized him. I am sorry, sir, he said. The hotel is full right now, but I promise we'll reverse a room for you next time. And Luffy hears the morons starting to speak. Who are these intruders? A man said with blue hair and ugly face. Here, take this and buy some better clothes. He dropped some money, and girl was laughing at them. Luffy went up to him, grabbed by the arm and twisted it, making him scream in pain. Hey, let him go. Do you know who he is? The girl screeched next to him. Luffy ignored her as Nami grabbed her by the neck, making yelp for Nami to put her down. You guys don't know who I am? Luffy asked. Welp, what a shame. He then let go of his arm and got on his knees and crying in pain, try to see if I have a bounty, and then he throws the bounty poster at the man and then felt. The man and girl were frozen to see Luffy's bounty poster. Straw Hat Luffy, wanted dead or alive, $500 million berries. What a waste of time, Luffy said. Let's go try a bar, maybe they have something there. Zoro and Nami nodded and went to bar. Luffy stopped in place when they saw Teach. He could feel pure evil from his devil fruits through his observation Haki. He decided to leave Ace into fighting him. Even though Ace hasn't properly trained his Haki, he decided to order him, Zoro and Nami, some food before they leave, and lucky for them, Blackbeard had left after someone else had entered the bar. He dodges someone as tried to slam his head onto the table and looked at his attacker. So, you're the rookie who attacked my crew members? Stranger said. My name is Bellamy, and my bounty is 55 million. You can't be calling someone a rookie if you are a rookie yourself, Luffy said. And 55 million? Well, mine is 500 million, and then Bellamy laughed at him, making Luffy have a bored expression on his face. You think I believe that? Bellamy said, and then Luffy smirked. You are not special. Oh, so you want to play, huh? Luffy said. Alright, Bellamy. Come on, I'll let you have the first hit. But don't say I warned ya. He then saw Bellamy growled and then charged at him, but only for Luffy to dodge it, and then punches against the floor and falls down unconsciously. Alright, my navigator will ask us a simple question, but if you laugh then you end up like him. You hear me? Everyone in the bar nodded. Have you heard of a sky island? Nami asked. No, sorry, the bartender said, but there is a man who may help you, but I have no clue where to find him. Alright, thanks, Luffy said, let's go. Time for us to find the next island. They left the bar and went back to ship, where they exchanged information to find out Sky Island. It was Robin's group who found a descendant of a famous liar, so if we can find this why, maybe we can ask him on how to get to Sky Island. They are our only chance, Luffy said. Well then, we better get going, Spectral said with a smile. Let's go. As they sailed their way to the coast from Mock Town to find weird old golden guy, and he told them about Nolan the liar. He suggested the crew that they need to find a south bird for Skypiea. They started searching in groups. Luffy went with Zoro, Spectral, Nami and Robin to go find one of the south birds. Meanwhile the others stay back to the ship in case of Bellamy comes here, which they did. As Sanji beat them up, Bellamy and his group were tied up unconscious. Luffy found one of the south birds and of course they didn't make it sound easy, which pissed off Luffy, and he used his conqueror's Haki, making the bird and half of the animals in the forest unconscious. Come on, Captain! Don't flash out your conqueror's Haki without a warning, you just made almost the entire forest knocked out, Spectral said. Luffy just softly smiled. Well, the birds were sending giant insects, what am I supposed to do? Luffy said. They grabbed the south birds and returned back to ship and set down the unconscious south bird onto the ship. Is the boat ready? Yes, Cricket said with his two monkey companions. Remember, this is your only chance to get to Sky Island. Be safe. Alright then, crew. Let's go, Luffy said as they started to sail and waited for the knock-up stream and started sailing on the knock-up stream. In the sky. Alright, we made it. One hell of a trip, Luffy said while breathing heavily after surviving the knock-up stream. I didn't like that very much, Nami said. Please tell there could have been an easier way to get here, Nami said while she was mopping around. Luffy and Spectral giggled a bit and started observing the clouds looking they are water. He then checked to see if everyone was still on board, but suddenly, they were missing someone. Guys, where did Usopp go? Luffy asked his crew. He decided to go swimming in the clouds, Chopper said. Does he not realize we are 7,000 meters in the sky and there is no bottom here? Luffy said, causing everyone's eyes widen. Chopper then called out for Usopp, who's swimming and might be still the clouds. We told him not to go into the clouds, Sanji said. Luffy stretches out his arms trying to reach for Usopp. Then Robin gave him a little help to find Usopp. They soon found him unconscious. After a few minutes he back on consciousness. You idiot, Usopp, don't scare us like that, Kaya said while punching her on the head, making the bump severe on his head, making him yell in pain. Next time think before you are doing something like that. Sorry about that, Kaya, Usopp said while still on the floor in pain. Luffy felt someone's presence around here. We are not alone here. Someone is coming, Luffy said, as he saw a ship get blown up, and saw an unknown person with a mask was charging towards them. Luffy uses his armament Haki to deflect his attacks. Who are you and why are you attacking out without reason? The reason is Blue Sea people aren't welcome here, Maskman said as he was about to attack again, but stopped by an old man with armor, making him go away to the shore. Who are you supposed to be? Are you here to attack us too? Spectral asked. No, they call me the Sky Knight, the old man answered. How did you get here? By the knock-up stream, Luffy answered. Are you saying there is another way to get here? Well, yes, but you could have died if you had taken that route. This is just all of you or no one basically on this island, the Sky Knight said. That is something good to know, Luffy said. Why didn't Shanks mention this me? I swear all he remembers is to party and drink. Shanks? Sky Knight said. That kid with the red hair and always with that blue hair and red nose kid. Yeah, Shanks is one of my friends/allies, Luffy answered. You know him? Yeah, I met them a long time ago, Sky Knight said. Here, take this. He throws Luffy a whistle. This normally costs like 5 million Ixtal. Ixtals? Nami said in a confused tone. It's the currency of Skypiea, Sky Knight answered, giving them the examples of Skypiea's currency. We might need to remember that, Luffy said. We don't need to cause trouble here. After saying goodbye to Sky Knight, they were soon stopped by an old lady and then snapped a picture of them. 8 of you would be 800 million berries, right? Nami said while tearing up. Luffy patted her on the back. Calm down, just pay up for now, Luffy said. We might find some treasure on this island. Nami's eye turns to berries, which made everyone's sweat dropped. We can probably relax on this island until he decides to go back. The crew nodded and pay up to the old lady and went to the shore. Their eyes were amazed. This beach in the sky, Nami said with stars in her eyes. It's beautiful. This may not be the island Shanks told me about, But this is sure beautiful, Luffy said. Let's use this time to relax on here. His crew nodded and went to go change in their swimsuits. It wasn't like 10 minutes until they were done. Luffy and the male's crew weren't surprised to see Sanji nose bleeding at seeing the females in bikinis, and sweat dropped. He wonders on why he has the nickname after Blackleg part, Luffy said. Well, you're not wrong, Spectral said, although his bounty picture is awful. Pervy Cook, Zoro said while laughing due to remembering Sanji's alias name. Oh no! Chopper said. Sanji, hang in there, don't die on me. Chopper, he is going to have a nosebleed again after you recover him, Spectral said. Chopper was still continuing recovering Sanji from his nosebleed along with the others. They soon met a girl, Conies. She took them to the town and gave them and explaining the dials. There were many different kinds of dials. From recording voices, others can be to cook, to have light, and even used as a defensive weapon but dangerous at the same time. Luffy felt someone's presence and remained calm. Looks like trouble is coming our way, Luffy said to his crew. Be ready. You got it, Nami said. Not to worry, we can do this, Usopp said to his captain. Luffy then turned to shore, saw something washed up ashore. He then ran towards the shore and grabbed it. Yo! I found another devil fruit, Luffy said to his crew, and went to shore to check out the fruit. I don't know what type it is, but we might want to keep this at the ship for now. This might be the best solution for now. Let's head to Mary, Kaya said, while the crew were making their way towards the Mary, and put it in the chest where they store the devil fruits in case we have no newcomers joining the crew. As they went back to shore, they were soon to be stopped. Stop right there! Someone then said, you are being charged of doing illegal activities on this island. We must detain you. We didn't do anything but hanging out on the shore, Luffy said back angrily. You are being paid a punishment of 80 million XTALs, the man said, for each person. Screw that. Nami said, we just paid 1 billion berries to enter here. You dare refuse our laws? The man asked. Yes, we are, Luffy said. Don't tell you we're like this with GOLD. Roger? We are not paying, so you might just have to fight us to make us leave. Very well then, the man said, and then charges at the Straw Hats, making the Straw Hats dodge the man and jump them, using Haki on the unknown man and kicking him to the ocean of clouds. Welp, we beat him into a pulp right there, Luffy said. Let's go. There is no point of staying here anymore. Yes, Captain Straw Hat said. Suddenly there was lightning bolt that hit Luffy as he was moving him crew members away from him, but there is no effect on him, as he was rubber. The hell was that, Zoro asked. Welp, someone just declared war. You are lucky that I was able to push you guys away in time, Luffy said to his crew members, which they all agreed. One single strike of them and they would have been unconscious anyways. We will probably get into a fight sooner or later. He then cracked his knuckles but then unleashed his Conqueror's Haki wave, knocking out the animals and the officers unconscious. Boss, again with the Conqueror's Haki, Spectral said, you nearly made our helpers faint and some of the animals. Please don't pick a fight, Coney said. It's not going to be that easy. Guess we will play whatever games this guy wants to play, Luffy said, and then turned towards his crew. Alright, how many of us are going or staying on the ship? He then holds up pieces of papers in front of them. Each one of them drew a paper, and they both revealed their papers. So I guess me, Luffy, Zoro, and Robin will be going to fight while the rest of you stay on the ship, Spectral said, making the entire crew nod. And yes, for the record, you can't open the devil fruit chest and eat one of the fruits that's stored in the chest. Those were the captain's orders, making the merry team nodded at Spectral's words. Soon enough the groups then split up. Luffy's group went to go fight the person who declared war on them. Half-hour later, sacrificial altar, Vivi's POV. Vivi and her group still remained on the ship. Sanji went to go cook some food. Chopper was keeping guard of the ship. Nami was drawing maps of Skypiea. Usopp was inventing new weapons. Meanwhile, Vivi was on guard. Thanks to Luffy's training during Alabasta, Vivi felt evil presences around the ship, and she got up and changed her arm into a tiger claw ready to attack. She was ready to prove that she was worthy of being part of a crew. So, they left a girl in charge of the ship. The man asked this will be easy as he started to attack the ship but then stopped as he was grabbed by a tiger paw and was lifted into the air. Vivi smirked. You think I'll let you destroy my captain's ship? Vivi mockingly asked the man sadly. You're wrong. Hopefully you have a nice flight, as he tosses him in the air and punched him in the stomach with armament Haki, sending him flying to shore unconscious. I wonder if I can get into a fight with my hybrid form? Vivi asked herself and then shrugged. Well, maybe in the future. As of right now I have to be ready for anything. Upper yard, ordeal of the balls, Spectral's POV. What the hell? Spectral said to himself as he was standing in front of his captain, and then coated his arm with armament. Haki, looks like we have more people in our way. It's fine, Luffy said, your devil fruit is a paramecia type. But now you have Haki, you are capable of defeating that moron. Spectral agreed on that, and waited for his opponent in his sight before attacking. He then saw his opponent crashing into him but swamp himself into a puddle of poison and reform back into the human. With that crashing making him crash into multiple trees. Looks like I have someone to play with poison. What did you say? The man screeched, I'll kick your ass very quick. He went to charge at Spectral, but Spectral dodged him and turning his arm into green poison and extending his arm to grab him and tossing him around to the tree. The man charged back at Spectral, but dodged with a little observation Haki, and turned his arm into poison and pierced his arm through the left side of man's stomach and then kicked him down to the floor and retracted him arm. Nice one, Spectral. Luffy said, let's go meet up with Zoro and Robin. Spectral nodded and tried to find Zoro and Robin, but Luffy stopped in tracks and Spectral notices. What's wrong? Spectral asked. There is a big battle going on, Luffy said. Don't let your guard down and be ready for anything. The others might be coming here soon. Yes, Captain, Spectral said. Luffy and Spectral met up with Zoro and Robin. They had taken a small ship with them and continued the path without no strong enemies in sight. They went down the waterfall, but the lake was full of mutated sharks. Luffy and his group quickly destroyed them. They saw the Mary a bit destroyed but not much. What happened here? Luffy asks. These wild bunnies and some creatures keep on attacking the ship. They wouldn't stop coming, Vivi said as she and Chopper were punching the strange man with bunny ears away from the Mary. Are the others okay? Luffy asks. Then he saw the remaining crew members on the ship. Well, this is one hell of a battle, Zoro said, but we must be on our guard as always. You know, Captain, if it wasn't for your training it would have been really bad for us, Spectral said. Vivi and Chopper were agreeing with them. Luffy was smiling and laughing. Now then, let's go and find ourselves a city of gold, Luffy said, making Nami's eye turn into berries in an instant as Luffy said that. Meanwhile the other's sweat dropped. Shandora, the city of gold, Luffy POV. So you must be the god that everyone was talking about, Luffy said. That's right, the god said, my name is Eneru. So, who are you supposed to be? Your crew isn't giving up, which is annoying. I'm just some famous rookie of the sea, Luffy answered. We are stubborn to just give up, and we can't let some wannabe god like you to defeat us. How dare you! Eneru screamed El Thor. He throws an attack but didn't affect Luffy at all, which caused him to smirk. What? You hit first, then I hit back, Luffy said, using his armament Haki, and punches Eneru in the stomach very hard, making him fly away and crashed into his ship. So, you want to go for round 2? To his surprise, Eneru went unconscious after a few hits from Luffy. He might have used Gear Second for the second round of the fight. Is Eneru knocked out? Spectral asks his Luffy, and then he smiled. Sure is, Luffy answered, making his crew cheer. Luffy then saw Gon fall putting on sea stone necklace on Eneru. Alright, now let's go ahead and find some gold, and then we can get out of here, Luffy said, making his crew nod. Suddenly a humongous snake appears and Luffy's get on his back and tells Nami to hop on. Then after 2 hours of searching, they had found gold. Luffy got an idea. Let's go and find that Shandora bell, Luffy said, the promise given long ago to Noland. Luffy then followed Gon fall to the bell of Shandora. Luffy and his crew eyes widened as they saw the bell. Let's ring it, Luffy said. Let's ring the light of Shandora, Wiper said. And then Luffy ranged the bell, making it sound beautiful. Seems like GOLD. Roger was here like you said, Luffy. Robin said, but who wrote this? Shanks told me that there was a Wano samurai named Odin. Luffy said he told me that he could understand and write this language. Interesting, Robin said. After going back to the Mary, they were told on how to leave. They had to say their goodbyes and left the island in a terrifying way, but saved by a giant octopus. Is it just me, or is the octopus getting smaller? Sanji said. Luffy looked to see the octopus, making his eyes widen. The octopus was soon deflated but was back on the sea. Is everyone alright? Robin asked her crew members. They all nodded. Robin and the crew started looking at Luffy was sweating and breathing heavily. Are you alright, Captain? Luffy Spectral asks his captain, and then he nearly got up. Yeah, I'm alright. That was almost terrifying, but lucky that we are alive, Luffy answered, making his crew agree on his opinion. He then got up and stretched his body around. Alright, let's go, Luffy said, and starting setting sail for the next island. Blue Sea, Grand Line. The crew has been sailing for 3 days ever since they arrived back to the Blue Seas from Skypiea. Luffy was on the deck of where the Mary's figurehead was. He was also checking out his sword from his waist, wondering if you could use it again because it's been a while since he has used his sword, even though he has a good swordsmanship. But it was enough to defeat strong fighters who uses swords. Even though he could combine it with Haki, it doesn't change much. He plans on upgrading his sword once he reaches Water 7, but just shrugged as he waits to get to the next island. The rest of the crew were scattered around the ship. Sanji was cooking food, Robin was chilling in the kitchen reading a book, Usopp was on the rear deck inventing a new weapon with Zoro on the deck with him and Nami. Zoro was lifting some weights. Chopper was restocking the medical supplies with Kaya. Spectral was keeping view of the sea to see if they see an island nearby, which he did see. "Yo! I see an island!" Spectral yelled from the crow's nest, which caught everyone's attention, which made everyone stop what they were doing and see the island themselves. "It's a little bit far away," Luffy said as he jumped onto the figurehead. "I think there's some fog around the island maybe. And with this wind it will probably take us a while even if it's pretty far away," Nami said as the others looked at the sails. The Going Merry sailed forward very slowly to the direction of the island. After half-hour later they made it to the island. They seem on edge to find a ship here that it was found on the island. It had no sails or flag and only had people on board. When they finally made it through the fog, they arrived at the island only to find grass and trees as they can see. "This island seems uninhabited," Robin commented as she looked towards the island. "It's really nothing but grass and trees as far we can see," Luffy said as he stared towards the island. "It's like a blank state." "Well, I'm ready to explore the island," Usopp said as he got off the ship and stepped foot on the island. "I'm pretty sure there is more than grass and trees," he said while getting off the ship with Chopper following behind him. "He may be right, but there could be trouble here," Spectral said, causing everyone on the ship nodded. Spectral see Usopp and Chopper running far ahead. "Hey, you two. Don't go so far ahead, you don't want to end up like Zoro does, who gets himself lost every time," he said, causing Zoro to grow a tick mark on his face. Luffy and Robin just giggled at that. "What did you say, Spectral? I'll kick your ass?" Zoro yelling at him. Spectral just laughed at him. "Although Zoro has respect for Spectral because they saved him from a government ship, but I still have respect for you. I'll give you that," causing Spectral to smile at him. "Thanks, Zoro. I have respect for you too, but let's hurry and not let those two wanders around," Spectral said. And everyone jumped ship. When Luffy landed on the island, his attention was immediately drawn to his right, where he saw a white bear walking upright and extremely tall. "What the hell is this island?" Luffy asked himself as he stares at the bear walking around the island. "Hey Luffy!" Usopp called out to his captain. While holding an apple in his hand, "Check out this apple." He then shows Luffy the apple, which was very long and surprising his captain. "What a strange island this is," Luffy said as he was walking to grab one of apples from the tree. Vivi, Usopp and Chopper went to examine the house from a far distance as they were leaving the others behind. Luffy and the others just grabbed some apples before sitting down under the trees and eating them while staring at the animals on the island. "This island is truly bizarre," Nami said as she and Sanji were going to the tree where the others were. "How long will we stay here?" "Not very long, I hope," Luffy replied calmly as he continues to eat the long apples. "We might as well stay here for an hour and then leave. We have been sailing for 3 days now." The crew agreed with him. "Yo, we are not going to be alone here," Spectral said while looking over near the Mary, which caught everyone's attention. They saw a ship sailing in front of the Mary. As soon as they stopped the ship, they shot large claws which acted like anchors that made the Mary boxed in place. "Looks like we are fighting again," Zoro said while inspecting his swords. Luffy was staying calm and looking at the people on the ship. "We have the notorious Foxy pirates. Someone said on board, we are here to challenge you. But not just a fight, we want a showdown," they said while Luffy was remaining calm but raised an eyebrow at them. "Even though I'm lazy, idiots really knows how to test my patience," Luffy said with a bored expression on his face, and still remaining under the tree laying back on the branch while looking at the pirates. Phew, someone laughed and Luffy stared at the man for a few minutes. "I, Foxy, captain of the Foxy Pirates, challenge you to a Davy back fight." A short man appeared in front of Luffy's eye and Luffy raised an eyebrow. "Who the hell are you supposed to be?" Luffy asked the man. "Why, you don't know how I am?" the man asked while sounding slightly hurt, and then Luffy shook his head. "No, I don't. But I do. You know, are you killing my patience, so get lost," Luffy replied, causing the man to sulk down to the ground. "He does not know who I am," he said in a disturbed voice. Luffy just sigh and some of the Foxy members tries to comfort him. Anyways, what the hell is a Davy back fight? Nami asks. It's basically a sporting competition between pirate crews of where pirates fight against each other to get one of pirates' crew members, Robin said. A pirate crew of 10 members, Foxy said as he got off the ground. What a bunch of weaklings, he said while trying to sound tough. But he saw Luffy sigh as he stood up behind his crew members. Captain, I think you mistaking them, one of the crew members said, which caught Foxy's and his crew attention. Look at their captain in the middle. As he was pointing at Luffy, he is Straw Hat Luffy. His bounty is worth 500 million. He was the one who took down the warlord, Crocodile in Alabasta, causing everyone to gasp in shock. After hearing that, Foxy started to feel fear on his face. Doesn't matter, Foxy said as he was clearing his throat, trying to ignore that fact that he was scared of Luffy. I will still win against him and his pitiful crewmates, he said, causing Luffy to sigh of a bored tone. But then Vivi's voice was heard. Hey! Captain? Vivi yelled out to his captain, which caught everyone's attention. They saw Vivi, Chopper, and Usopp running back at them, but Vivi was holding 2 injured people in her tiger hands. Those people were from Foxy's crew. The Foxy pirates were in shock. These 2 decided to attack an old man. So we just knocked them. We didn't know what to do with them as Vivi dropped both of them on the ground with them unconscious. Capote! Pickles! The crew shouted to the 2 unconscious members. The crew looked in horror. Luffy and his crew turned back to the Foxy pirates, who were in horror. Luffy then smirked and picked up a rock and tosses it around. Well, that's a shame, Luffy said while grinning at Foxy, who looked horrified. And then the captain of the Foxy pirates launched an attack on Luffy, which Luffy, going back to being bored again. Slow beam. Foxy shouted his attack and trying to hit Luffy but dodged it with a little bit of observation. Haki. Luffy just sighed. Is that it? Luffy said with an bored expression. Foxy gulped in fear, but then Luffy just shrugged. I'll leave you guys to rest, to the crew, saying to his crew and looking at the Foxy members, as for you guys, you're finished. As he was throwing a rock at Foxy with a little bit of armament, Haki causing Foxy to scream in pain, and his crew started attacking the Foxy pirates. Captain? Foxy's crew yelled in horror. Some of the crew members tried to attack Luffy but intercepted by Spectral and Zoro, which both of them smirked. Onigiri. Zoro yelled out his attack onto the right of Luffy, intercepting the one of Foxy's crew who was about to attack him. But Zoro swung all 3 of his swords across the chest, resulting deep slashes to appear on the man's chest, which causing it to bleed out and then fall onto the ground, resulting him in a puddle of his own blood. Poison style. Infernal Twin Souls. Spectral yelled out his attack onto the left of Luffy, intercepting the 2 members trying to attack Luffy but failed as Spectral delivers 2 poison punches and then flames caught onto the poison fist and punches the 2 in the chest and setting their chest on fire with poison, and then Spectral retracted his fist and then smirked at the 2 who fallen to the ground. Know your places, losers, Luffy said in a cold tone as he stared at the remaining members of the Foxy pirates, who looked terrified at the crew. Luffy then grins at them. They are all monsters, one of the members of the Foxy pirates called out, causing Luffy to smirk. Now then, why would you try to run away if you captain challenged us? We have to finish this, don't we? Luffy said at the remaining members. He then turned to Nami and Kaya and told them to go attack the remaining members. Electric Tempest. Nami yelled out his attack, which and Nami swung at the air, causing air to direct at the remaining members, and it hits them, causing them to be electrocuted. Chili Kick. Kaya yelled out his attack and kicked the air, which formed a slash which hit the members, which freezes the members on the ground. Well, looks like we are done here, Luffy said while the others are destroying the ship. Let's move on. His crew nodded and started to leave the Foxy pirates stranded. As they were walking around, Luffy went tremendous Haki around the area. He didn't want to stay here for too long but continuing walking, but they notice a trail on the grove. What is this? Spectral asked while looking at the ground as they were still walking. This is weird. You're right. This is weird, Usopp said while looking at the trail, but notice an object by an rock. Hey, look over there. He pointed at a rock which caught everyone's eyes and looked at a rock. It's seeming like a bicycle made this trail, which caused Luffy and Robin's eye to narrow. So, you're telling me that there is someone here other than the Foxy pirates? Spectral asks while looking at the crow. And then Luffy crouched down to the ground to inspect the trail. Meanwhile, Robin was looking at Luffy, who like he was afraid in his eyes, and then everyone turned to Luffy. Damn it! Never though I will be able to run into him again, Luffy thought to himself while looking at Robin. He could tell that she knew what he was thinking about. Problem, Captain? Spectral asks his captain, but then Luffy was silent for a few seconds. As of right now? No. Luffy replied as he stood up, but in the future? Maybe, he said, confusing his crew. But they decided to keep their guard up until further notices and started to continue to walk again, although it was kind of disappointing that there was nothing on the island. This island is so boring. We just got out of fight, Vivi said in a bored tone. The rest of the crew agreed with her. As the crew was looking, Chopper ran off in the direction of a big rock to have a big mushroom grow out of it. I never seen this mushroom this big before, Chopper said as ran towards the giant rock to pick up the mushroom. But soon the crew saw Chopper get thrown back from behind the rock, causing him to fall on his backside. Chopper! Vivi and Usopp yelled out as they saw their friend get thrown off the rock. There is something behind the rock, Nami said as she was turning her fist into electric. Let's go! Spectral said before him, and the rest of the crew took off running, leaving Luffy in the same position looking at his crew towards the rock, then let out a sigh. My patience is always killing me, Luffy said to himself while face-palming, but then ran towards the crew, who confronted the individual that was standing behind the rock. But when Luffy arrived, he saw Robin on the ground having a terrified look on her face and sweated as she was staring at the man. But Luffy comforted her by blocking her view of the man. This guy is a Marine Admiral, Spectral said in shocked voice. He has Robin scared of her mind right now, he added as he standing on his captain's left side was Zoro on the right. The crew looked intimidated by the man, and some of them fear him, due to Robin's reaction to the Marine Admiral. And then Admiral took his eyes off of Robin and looked at Luffy. It's been a while, has it? Straw Hat Luffy. The Admiral said, which causes everyone except Luffy eyes to widen. Luffy knew the Admiral. Captain, you know him? Sanji asks his captain. Who is this guy? I'm afraid I do know him. His name is Kazan, also known as Admiral Akiji of Navy HQ. Luffy replied back while looking at Kazan, who seemed amused to see Luffy again. You gave me some trouble 8 years ago. What do I owe the pleasure? Kazan said. Luffy was gripping on his sword with Zoro and Spectral on his side. Meanwhile, the others were behind him. Captain, what should we do? Spectral and Zoro asks his captain, which trying to get ready to attack him. Some others were following them. Stand down for now, Luffy said, causing everyone to feel surprised. You guys are not on his level yet. As far as I know, I'm the only person in this crew who can match his level of a marine. The crew agreed with him and cancelled their attacks, and still looking at Kazan, A/N. Luffy is 18 years old in this story, just for an heads up. Calm down, Luffy. You and I know this is not the same as 8 years ago, right? Kazan said. Besides, you and I know what motto of justice I follow in the Navy, right? And also, I only came here for a vacation. Really, I don't really plan on getting back to HQ as of for right now, so why not we have a little chat? Luffy then sighed and released the grip of his sword before looking at him for a few seconds. Why are you so relaxed, Luffy? Kaya asks his captain while staring at him with a confused look on her face. What is his sense of justice? Spectral asked, seeing that Luffy was well relaxed after releasing the grip of his sword. Lazy justice, Luffy said with a sigh, causing everyone to sweat drop. Meanwhile, Robin was still on the ground in fear. Luffy saw this and asks Vivi to take care of her for now until we leave the island. And Luffy was still looking at him, feeling like a fight is about to break out any time. Why are you here, Kazan? Luffy asked in a serious tone. He sounded mad at Kazan. Meanwhile, the rest of them back up a bit for safety cautions. I only came here to confirm the location of Nico, Robin, but I have no intentions of capturing and turning you over to HQ. Kazan said. Now all of you have big bounties on your head. Let us see. 500 million, 200 million, 180 million, 150 million, 120 million, 110 million, 90 million, 80 million, plus another 80 million, and 500. That brings your overall bounty. Ah, screw it, some big ass number. Just do the damn math, Zoro said as he's staring at Kazan. Cut the crap, Kazan, Luffy said while being furious. I've known about you for 8 years. And you know I know the marine system. They don't bring admirals to check up pirate bounties, so tell me why you are actually here. Calm down. You say it like some ordinary pirate. Like I said, I didn't come here to pick a fight with you, Kazan said. While some others spoke up of saying Kazan was a marine, Kazan told the crew that those were castaways that were washed up ashore. Luffy was giving orders to his crew. Sanji went to restock the food supply. Chopper was examining the castaways with Kaya, Nami and Vivi on his side. Meanwhile, Luffy, Spectral, Zoro and Robin were watching as Kazan was freezing up the ocean. Sanji asked the survivors on what had happened. They said a frog doing the front crawl crashed into the boat. Usopp didn't believe at first, but Luffy told them it was Yokozuna. Few minutes later, "Alright, all of you gather your stuff," Kazan said to survivors of the shipwreck. "I know an island not too far from here. You can go there and ask for help," he said, causing the survivors to rejoice. The crew decided to help the survivors once they were done. Kazan walked over to the edge of the island, which caused the crew expect Luffy and Robin to panic. "Hey! Get out of there!" Usopp yelled out to Kazan, but didn't move an inch. "Look out!" Nami and Vivi yelled out loud. "Ice Age!" Kazan called out. No less than a second, the ocean started to freeze in front of them. Even the Sea King that tried to attack was frozen. Everyone except Luffy and Robin were surprised to Kazan's ability. Luffy thought to himself that was impressive, but he didn't want to forget that he was an admiral. "He just froze the ocean," Nami said while looking surprised. "He almost has the devil fruit," as Mikaya said while looking shocked. "It'll stay like that for a week," Kazan said as he stood up. "Head to that direction," he said as he was pointed to the direction to tell where the survivors should go. "Take your time, you should be able to reach in 4 days," he said as he was picking up his coat and started to walk away. And then the survivors started to walk on the ice and headed to the direction of where Kazan pointed to. Luffy's crew helped them load their cargo to the ice and sang their goodbyes and started to head back on land, some of them though Kazan was gone. As they began walking, Luffy knew that he wasn't going to leave this island without a fight. They all saw Kazan sitting on the grass with a serious face. "Hey Kazan, what are you thinking about?" Luffy asked in an uncaring tone to Kazan, but then Kazan looks up at Luffy. "You are as troublesome as your grandfather Monkey D." "Luffy," Kazan said, causing Luffy to flinch at the mention of his grandfather. "Both of you are so hard to figure out," sometimes causing him to chuckle in a nervous tone. "Luffy's grandfather?" Nami asked in a curious tone. "Come to think of it, Luffy never talks about his family or past, except for the part about he and Kazan met 8 years ago," Sanji said. "Your captain has a very strong, complicated family tree, I should say," Kazan said with a sigh, "especially when it comes to his parents," he said, increasing his tone, making Luffy's crew feel curious about him, and Luffy stomps his feet. "What are you actually here for, Kazan? And what do you know about my grandfather?" Luffy said in a dangerous tone. "Your grandfather had helped me out in the past, that's why I'm here," Kazan said, but Luffy didn't believe it. He began to sweat. "I actually wanted to see you and Nico Robin with my own 2 eyes," he said before giving out a serious look and glared at Luffy. "On second thought, maybe I should just kill you," he said, causing Luffy to whip out his swords and giving out orders to his crew and tell them to meet him back at ship until the fight is over. "I'll show you that I'm a level of a marine and an emperor of the sea level," Luffy said, and him and Kazan started to clash. "I swear on my life I would protect along with my crew," as he coated his arm and sword in armament Haki. "You and Nico Robin must be killed. Consider you guys are a major threat to the world government," Kazan said. But Luffy punches him in the face and kicking him in the stomach, which made him cough up blood as he sent crashing into multiple trees, but saved himself from his ice abilities. And then attacking to attack Luffy with ice, but he slashes all of the ice that was thrown at him, and Luffy activated his second gear and charged at Kazan, and punches him on the ground, making the Admiral's eye widen. The 3 admirals, Admiral Akiji, Admiral Akainu, and Admiral Kazara, Luffy said as he was staring at Kazan, "The 3 of you are the direct subordinates of the Celestial Dragons, which everyone could despise them. You Marines and the world government think that they are gods of the world, but they are just some pieces of shit to the public. Monkey D. Dragon created the Revolutionary Army to declare and end the Celestial Dragons. I set out to sea so I can become king of the pirates and make peace of the world, because you Marines and the world government's sense of justice is just corrupted. If you 3 admirals get in my way, I'll destroy you without a second thought," Luffy said to Kazan with a cold expression and tone which made the Admiral fear. And then Luffy kicked him near the frozen ocean and picked up his sword and put it back in scabbard, and Luffy returned back to ship to meet back with his crewmates. "Is it done, Captain?" Spectral asks. "It is done. Now let's get out of here before Kazan regains conscious again," Luffy replied, and his crew nodded and left the island. Kazan's POV. What the hell was that, Kazan asked himself. He gained consciousness after getting his ass kicked by a rookie of the sea. He was lucky to be alive. But he remembers that Luffy warned him about him and the other admirals getting in his way. He really shows the power level of being a marine and an emperor. Whoever provokes him is going to in for a surprise. He is nearly to 1 billion berry bounty. He grabbed his bike and started heading back to Navy HQ by using his ice powers and hang out with Vice Admiral Garp. Thanks for watching this video. You really enjoy this video. Like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow Radistorm for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.